Hello and welcome to the JB&M Sports Fanatic channel. What's good with you? It's your boy JB here on a Friday, a little bit earlier today than normal, but that's okay. We can get things started here earlier today and talk, of course, about college football, NFL, all that great stuff here today. So excited to get this one started here today. And let's go ahead and dive right into it. So, first thing, and Old Man, he will be joining us here shortly. So, Old Man will be joining me any minute now. So, I'll keep an eye out for that. But to get things started, obviously, right now, where we are in college football, week 1 here, and we've seen a lot of surprises early in this. When it started really last week, week 0, nobody could have been ready for what we saw, the last couple weeks there. But we saw some exciting ones yesterday that we did see Colorado survive there against North Dakota State, in which Shador went out there, threw for like 470 something yards out there passing, and so but the defense still has the same issues that they had previously over there at Colorado. They cannot stop anybody defensively, and that's going to be a huge problem for Colorado this upcoming season. And we'll have to wait and see once they start going against greater competition how that offensive line holds up against them. But for the most part, just seeing that. But some of the positives that we did see, Travis Hunter, he went out there and he showed, hey, I can go out there and I can play receiver, I can play cornerback, and we already knew this, but he's only getting better. We've got Joe Brown in the chat, and he says, "Hi, George, and so how are you doing?" Yes, so that is essentially my thoughts when it comes to Colorado. Again, surviving that game there, North Dakota State, they played tremendous, absolutely tremendous in that one. And so I see we've got Old Man here. So let me go ahead and add Old Man here to the stage real quick. Old Man, talk to me. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you just great. Welcome. Welcome. Had to bust out the old UAB shirt here on my end.
That
Yes. So what were your thoughts about some of the college football games yesterday that took place and just so far this season?
Hunter's year this year. He's gonna win it, even if the team themselves don't win a lot of games. I think he's gonna win it. Heisman.
Yeah, and honestly, that's really what would be the biggest concern because you have a guy that's going out there entire, like most of the game playing offense and defense at an extremely high level. And so I don't have to remind you this, but you remember at the NFL level, we've seen Troy Brown play a little bit of DB towards, like the back end of his career with New England and stuff like that. So certainly depending on the team that drafts him, they have the opportunity. I wouldn't say play him the entire game. I certainly wouldn't recommend that. That's not going to be good for the length of his career. But certainly, there can be aspects where you do something like that, throughout the course of the game. And it doesn't have to be just a couple plays. It can be, probably I'd say about maybe a quarter's worth of action. What do you think?
I would do it. You know how New England used Marcus Jones that with last year or the year before it when they brought him in the Buffalo game. You do that. You give him a couple
Right.
games on offense, but you do it the other way. You give him a couple times on defense.
And shout out
I
to
wouldn't
Braden
though.
here.
I wouldn't play him a lot on both sides. Like yesterday, I think he played way too much. Like that's not. He ain't gonna be able to handle doing that in college a full season, let alone the NFL.
Absolutely. And I do feel like as the season goes on, it'll somewhat reduce because you need him to finish the entire season. You need him to finish the entire season. But that being said, they clearly needed him yesterday to come out with a victory and stuff like that. So that was obviously big there. But let's go ahead and get in the comment real quick here. It's because we got Braden here. And so Braden says, hey, JB. Braden says, just saw Max Johnson broke his leg and is done for the year. I seen that reported earlier on Twitter as well. And so very unfortunate. We saw the injury when it happened there. Very unfortunate indeed. But yes, he is done for the year. We've got JJ as well. And JJ says, hey, JB, you say this time you are early. And so that's right. You are early. Absolutely. Absolutely. But yeah, so how do you guys feel about Travis Hunter in terms of, like how much should he play, both sides of the ball? How do you guys feel about that here in the chat?
You
Braden
could
says,
tell
"Hey,
he's getting coached by Prime though. The swag on him.
oh yeah, oh yeah." He bust out all the
Oh,
celebrations. I didn't get to watch the actual like when it happened because obviously I was streaming, the North Carolina Minnesota game. But afterwards, when I saw the highlights, my man went through the entire like archive of every single celebration you can have. When you score that many times, that can happen. Absolutely. What was your thought about the offensive line for Colorado? Because again, I only saw the highlights. I didn't get to dive too much into it.
they got a little bit better from last year. But saying that, last year they were like they were the worst O line in my opinion. So
Oh,
they
I
they
suppose.
got better, but they're gonna they gotta figure out something because Prime Sanders, the dad, should be kicking prime time head coaches behind right now. You got your son out there getting hit, running around for his life. You gotta figure out that line. You gotta even if you gotta block a tag like a tight end, block a running back. You gotta help your son because if not, he's not making it for you.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. And we did see that last year. And the competition is only going to get more difficult. It's only going to get more difficult. We got Phoenix here in the chat. Phoenix, what's good? He says, "What's up, JV Nation and members? What's good with you, Phoenix? Appreciate you coming through here. I know you're probably out there fishing this time of day. I know it." Absolutely. Yes. And so let's talk about some of the other games that took place out there. How'd you feel about the North Carolina and Minnesota game?
Uh I really didn't watch it, to tell you the truth. So
Okay,
I
yeah,
I
yeah, I
watched
can
the
speak
I
to that.
watched the highlight. I watched the highlights. So
Okay.
going off of that, it looked like a good game going off the highlights, but like I can't really tell you something what the coaches did or nothing. That's my fault.
Oh, it's all good. It's all good. Yeah, so in terms of my thoughts on the game for Minnesota and North Carolina, the biggest thing that stood out to me was for North Carolina at their quarterback spot. Now, did they win the game? Yes, they won the game. And obviously, you don't win the game by accident and stuff like that. There was a lot of good things to take from that game from North Carolina. Especially entering into the game, I believe that they said that they only had one lineman entering into the game that had prior experience in terms of starts. And he had 10 starts to his name. Everybody else was basically like brand new. And so when you say that, obviously we saw what happened with Max Johnson. Very unfortunate and stuff like that, that injury there. And it's a big question moving forward, the quarterback play for North Carolina, because prior to that injury, it wasn't there. But it seemed like Max Johnson was just starting to get a little comfortable there. But one thing's for sure, they don't have Drake May back there. That's for sure. They don't have that. And so they got to figure something out in terms of the rest of the way, passing that ball there. And Hampton, he had a lot of, rushing yards there to try to carry the team as much as he could. My man had 30 plus carries and stuff like that. That's a lot of carries, and that's going to be a lot of baggage to where after this, when he's thinking about the NFL, teams are going to be like, well, he was used a lot at the college level if he has to continuously get this amount of carries this year, particularly.
Hey,
So,
I'd be okay with that. Let him use them. Let the NFL think he used. Let him drop to the third round. New England snag him.
oh yeah, right, right. Right, let's see. We've got CDs here in the chat. He says, "What's good, JB, and what's good, Mob? What's good with your CDs? Glad to see so many people here early on a Friday. I know it's earlier than the time we normally would go on, but again, we got our fantasy draft later on, so we wanted to get this in before then." All right. Braden brings up a good point, Ode. He says that the ACC is wide open this year. So talk to us about what have you seen, obviously in the small sample size so far for the ACC, and just how do you see the ACC playing out?
Braden's right. It's wide open. I can't even tell you. Normally, you could go in there and say this team's way better than the rest, or this team's the number one team. This year, you really can't. You really can't say that. If you name me one team, and you might be able to say one team's a little bit better, but not compared to like years before. Anybody
Oh
could
yeah,
win it, and I'm
anybody.
I'm excited because we all know that this football is gonna be some good football. Every team will know, yo, it's open. It might be a year. They're gonna go crazy this year. Good football year.
Oh yeah, great year to be a team, especially if you're in the ACC. You just never know. Last year they had a couple teams that really, they had some good moments, but who can put it together consistently? Because it honestly feels like in the ACC, it's going to be like a lot of I'm not going to say every team, but most teams are going to match up well against each other and stuff like that. It seems like this conference, they're going to come in. Everybody wants to run the ball here in the ACC. I remember they used to talk about the Big Ten and say the Big Ten was the conference that likes to run the ball. You look around the ACC right now, a lot of these teams they have no choice but to run the ball, whether it's through their quarterback running or running. Like in the ACC, they want to go out there. They don't want to get into a passing shootout here. Clemson doesn't want that smoke. We've seen yesterday in North Carolina, they don't want to have a game like that. Like all these teams there, like they don't want to get into that type of a game there. So that's going to be, I guess, what you can expect for the ACC, really. My guy in the Zoe here, in the Zoe, what's good with you? What's good with you? Good to see so many people here, especially the guys that we know later on are going to be here for our fantasy draft and stuff like that. So, absolutely. But I think CD says, let's see what he says here. He says, how do we feel about Jacoby starting? He says he's fine with it. He don't want May to be playing with that line. Oh, I know you've spoken to this before. We'll let you start this one off.
I agree. Don't start May for the first 4 weeks at best. People say, what does that do? It actually let Shulk, that big old, supposed to be the top free agent coming in from a different team. He's supposed to be the vet and supposed to be the leader. Oh, I know what I'm doing. 3 flags the same time. The referee even said again when he even announced it. That's pathetic. Like he's yelling, like a teacher yelling at a kid. Yo, stop it again. You're doing. I wouldn't start me. Me personally, I want the top three, top third round pick. You can either trade it or you take Will Campbell. Either way, don't start May until week 5 at best.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, we pretty much knew going into it that even though it was called a quarterback competition, it really wasn't a quarterback, not an open quarterback competition there. It was more so just one. Brissett's going to go in there, and we're basically paying him to say, "Hey, this offensive line is bad. All right, you're going to look bad, but you know what? You're a veteran. You've been through hard times. We've seen that. You know how to handle yourself and stuff like that. You're not going to go up there to the media after the game and start, screaming at reporters and stuff like that. You're not going to do anything crazy like that. But what you will do is you will buy us time. Ultimately, that's what we want from him is to buy us times. And while that may not result and a lot of wins and stuff like that up under Jacoby Brissett. This is about the long-term future at the position. And honestly, it's just coming from an organization that they fear everything that they did wrong for Mac Jones, even though Mac Jones did have a successful rookie year and stuff like that. But they fear how they messed that up. They don't want to take that away from this kid because when you drafted a guy like Drake May, you knew he had the tools and stuff like that, but you knew that he needed to be developed. He wasn't going to be in there that was ready to go, day one and stuff like that. And we've seen some pleasant surprise over the last couple of months in terms of, his growth, which is good, but you want to continue to let him grow and just don't put that kind of pressure on him. So absolutely. All right, let's see the next couple of comments. Braden says North Carolina State struggled against Western Carolina, but pulled away at the end. And so, yeah, I mean, that game was pretty competitive there, but once they towards the end pulled away and stuff like that, but still, it's the first week. So I'm giving a couple teams a little bit of a pass, but that's something to keep an eye out for sure. Let's see. And Azul says, y'all better be trying to get y'all fantasy team together. I'm sure that Ode has invested probably about as much time as I've invested in terms of making sure
Oh
that my
yeah,
fantasy board is ready, especially knowing that I had this. I didn't have to work today in the zone, so I was definitely making sure that my fantasy team, my fantasy board is good to go so that way later on, your boy JB, especially since I'm picking later in the draft and stuff like that as well. So, oh man, I
I
keep
got
ended
four
up having
papers
this
written
one
down.
player. 4 papers. So you took the manual route then.
Oh, I told you, no, all respect taking this, Mr. JB. You're going down this year. You're going down.
Like it. Okay. Okay. All right, let's see. CD says, yeah, either Campbell or Luther Burden. You say whoever we sign in free agency will take that. Braden says, smart decision by the Pats. Let Brissett sit for the first 4 to 6 games, he says. 4 to 6 games. All right, we got RC in the building. What's good with your RC? He says, JB and O Samurai salute. Mean sharp recognition. Okay, okay. So, when it comes to from what we've seen, obviously, again, we're talking small sample size so far this college football season. But what has been a surprise, a pleasant surprise? It could be a player, it could be a team. Your discretion in terms of a pleasant surprise that you've noticed so far, early, extremely early, in the few games that we did get to see so far in this college football season.
I wouldn't say it's like it's a player, it's a head coach, and it's not even in the game. It's just I've been keeping an eye on Ryan Day because I want him gone. This might be the year where he shocks me. He's been actually on players like he's not. He's taking this deal seriously. I think he knows Chip Kelly's hill for one reason. That job. If
Yeah,
you fail, I think they're gonna give it to Kelly, and he's been shocked to me. I've been watching. I've been watching the interviews he does. He's not, and even in the interviews, he's not studying like I do. He's focused. Wants to win. He wants to bring it home for us. So that's
he
who
does.
shocks me the most.
Okay, okay. I like it. I'm looking forward to seeing them also play in their first game. But I think, I mean, you look at how busy they were, throughout this entire, like from portal and stuff like that. I mean, we know we do a pretty good job recruiting and stuff like that, but across the board, it really does feel like he's extremely locked in. I feel like personally he has grown and stuff like that. I mean, and I hate to use this reference, y'all. I hate to use this reference there, but you look at Jim Harbaugh with his first couple years in Michigan. The fans basically wanted him gone and stuff like that. Why? Because he couldn't win the big game, but he continued to get better, get better, get better. Then eventually he built a team that was able to, get it done the last couple years and stuff like that. So, Ryan Day, I know it was a humbling experience. You came from, like you got the promotion and stuff like that. So you were handed the keys to a car that everybody expects, national championship and stuff like that. And then you went in there, said hang 100 on them. That didn't work out too well and stuff like that. Didn't work out well at all and stuff like that. But I feel like this year he understands, like, hey, like it has to be this year. It has to be this year. So he's totally locked in and stuff. So you bring up a great point there with Ryan Day. Absolutely. All right, let's see. CD says you got your drafts done. You got Mahomes and Kelsey and Hill in both of your leagues. Only four people. You had me there for a second, CDs. I was like, tell me your secret, but you say four people in the league. Okay, that explains it there. That explains it. Braden says pleasant surprise would be seeing Cam Rising have a huge first game, even though it's against a small school. And so, good old Cam Rising, and that's a wonderful, tremendous point that you pointed out right there in terms of, and I'm pulling up on my side here, a couple notes that I have for a couple key players that I am looking forward to seeing. And Cam Rising is number one on that list for JB. And so, I mean, obviously, major knee injury sustained, right before the bowl game there. And so, but you look back in 2021 and he was like a first team all Pac 12 quarterback there for them. And so, if he can come back and really just, replicate that, 3,000 plus yards, more than 25 touchdowns, keep the interceptions less than 10. I mean, Utah's going to be competitive defensively. We know that they're going to be competitive defensively. And so he can go in there and have a big year, bouncing back, then that's going to really help Utah be one of those surprise teams, honestly. So tremendous point there. If you want to add anything to that, Ode?
Nah, not that. Well, me personally though, so is the Tech. Their running back, Jamal Hazen or Hayes. He's
Yeah,
really
Haynes.
good. Yeah, he's good. I think they're gonna have to rely on him, and their run game's gonna be top notch this year. I don't think Kane's gonna be like all really good when it comes to like touchdowns and picks, but I
Right.
think Jamal because they're gonna run the ball a lot. Florida State needs to figure something out though,
Oh yeah.
and
Oh yeah, they
fast.
do.
They need to figure it out quick.
I mean, but we'll get to see Florida State again on Monday. I will be, live streaming that game on Monday. But I mean, we all know who the head coach, for Boston College is, and Florida State's gonna be playing Boston College. So we'll get to see, Bill O'Brien go out there in his debut for Boston College and see how they look. Because last year, Boston College, they had some exciting moments, especially the quarterback play. All right, let's see. CD says he's going for back to back this year. So CDs is trying to be like Mr. JB Ode.
Oh boy.
Mike, what's good with you? Mike says, "What up, JB? What up, Ode?"
What's good,
Uh,
Mike?
good old Mike. Let's see. Braden says, "Also, you guys talked about it already, but what Travis Hunter did last night." And so, yeah, and so, I mean, we all know, given his skill set there, if there's like the player who has benefited the most, from having Dion coach him, it is definitely Travis Hunter. And we knew that coming in, the kid was going to be special this year because I remember talks last year, especially early in the season. The question becomes once we get into the meat and potatoes of the season, once you're in that hard part of the conference and stuff like that, and you're not coming off of, like having an entire off season to, recover and stuff like that and we're talking about some of the top, I'm not going to say top defenses there, but some of the better defenses in the conference. And he's already going to have his work done having to, guard their top receivers and stuff like that, And so it's going to be, we're going to have to see how they manage him throughout the entire season. But clearly that shows, everything that this man is capable of and stuff like that. The only, I guess you can say if there's a flaw, the flaw is being that he's not immortal. That's the only flaw. Because like he can do it all, but nobody's immortal to where, like they can keep that up for the entire course of the season. Am I right, Old?
Yeah, you're right. Now here's the question though: if you're prime time, right? Not even prime time. If you're Hunter himself, and you're looking at this draft, and you look and saying, "I could be a top 5 pick," you know deep down in your heart, yeah, you want to do both sides. But like you said, when it gets down to meat and potatoes, and you start playing these tougher defense, and it get to week 5, 6 down the line, your body starts slowing down because you're playing most of these games. Are you gonna say, "Hey, if I get injured, I can go from being a top 5 to second rounder"? Said he only start. So he looked at Prime, and so Prime look at or Prime look at him and say, "Hey, you only playing receiver, or you only playing corner, or do you think he has to play both?"
I don't want to say that he has to play both, but if I'm coming from Prime's perspective here when it comes to Hunter Travis Hunter, then I'm thinking about obviously it's my job to ensure that nothing major happens from an injury perspective. But I also know that he joined here because he wanted to have the ability to play both sides. So definitely can't take that away. But there are going to be some games where, like, if we're playing a team and we don't necessarily need to use them that much on offense, I got to find ways to like have games where it's like, okay, I know I'm going to need you for this game here, so this game, you're not going to get that much on offense, and communicate that to them. Players like to have that communicated, like why we feel like this is best and stuff like that. We want to get you those games where you can showcase, your offensive skills and stuff like that. But at the same time, we got to preserve you. It's my job. I'd be doing you a disservice if I let you just grind yourself and just, you end up getting a major injury and it, impacts your ability to be the player that you are. Because we're always one play away from, like an injury just completely taking away, all the athleticism and stuff like that. And the he's a gifted person, not just gifted, but a gifted individual, athletically speaking. So Coach Prime, he's obviously been in the league for a long time. So he would be able to be like, okay, like, I can't let you keep doing this for, now let's take a break here. You'll still get your chances to shine, but, you know, take a break. So that's how I would do it if I was Prime.
All right, and I agree.
All right, let's see. Mike says, "How did the game end? Was it good?" So, Mike, the game came down. If we're talking about the Colorado game and stuff like that, and if you took the time to actually watch that one, I'll let you speak more to it. I had to watch the highlights since I was streaming the Minnesota North Carolina one. But ultimately, from what I hear, and correct me if I'm wrong, guys, came down to the last drive, where ultimately, what it
Oh,
was, an Hail Mary where it was like a couple yards shy.
let's just say I forgot the quarterback's name for some reason, but if he could have got another a yard, maybe 2 yards, it's a touchdown. It came down to one last Hail Mary. They almost got it.
Oh wow.
But the biggest stories from that game is Hunter because that nasty catch. He pulled off like almost an Odell Beckham type
Oh
catch,
yeah, I did
getting
see the catches
flags and
now,
everything. So
and he had the celebrations ready. He had it ready. And then you had Shador out there. He threw for like 470 something yards passing in that one. So, I mean, pretty much how I expected the game to go, really. I felt like their defense was going to not, I felt like their defense was going to allow, North Dakota State to have moments in that game. And I also felt like the offense was going to, just keep moving the ball, keep scoring. And so it went almost about as JB projected it would go in that matchup. All right, let's see. Mike says Deion Kane is back on. You said the Bills cut him, but the Panthers signed him. Okay, okay. Nice, nice. Good Deion Kane. Braden says, see your old man and JB. He's got some preparations to do before the draft tonight. All right. Certainly understand that, Braden. Appreciate you coming through. Absolutely. And speaking of the NFL, so I know I've asked this before, but in terms of like what players were surprise cuts for you around the NFL? So we'll give you full leeway here. If you got multiple guys, you can go ahead and mention it.
Uh, Frank Gore Jr. I know he got signed back with the Bills practice squad, but to me, he looked like was the second best running back. He was getting, I believe it was 4 yards a carry, almost 5 yards a carry.
Oh yeah.
If you combine everything, that was a surprise cut. And then Marshall from the Panthers, the second round receiver. I thought since
Terrence, yeah.
they needed so much help at that spot. Yes, he dealt with and the injury bag and drops in a little bit, but I thought with them being so needy at that position, they would have kept him. And then for the Patriots, I don't know why we cut Wade, and that to me, Wade turned into the Bryant. I know Myers Bryant, Patriots fans don't like him, but he was good in his role. He was good as the fourth corner, fifth corner, a safety that needs to come on. He can go play safety. That's what Wade was. And then you cut Bolden. Yeah, he's on the practice squad, but you cut him too, who's still young, who was actually took Wade's spot, and then you just cut him. So I don't understand those four cuts. Like, what were the Bills and Patriots thinking, and what was the Panthers thinking?
Yeah, the Terrence Marshall one caught me by surprise there. I really felt like you want to make sure that you give Bryce as many options, especially the talent he already possessed. You know that. And I felt like they were talking about he was having like a good camp and stuff like that. So it wasn't like he was, looking really bad. So I didn't understand it. That was mind-boggling as well. And so certainly agree with that. We got Trav here. And so Trav says, ready for the draft. You already know. You already know your boy is going to be ready for that draft and stuff like that. So absolutely. JB never stops preparing. I start preparing at least 3 months in advance and stuff like that. As soon as I can start doing mock drafts and stuff like that. So your boy, I'm ready. I'm ready. Let's see. Mike says, TMJ's just not hungry. You said no, get up and go. He needs the right situation to motivate him, you think? And so, well, if money don't do it at the NFL level, I don't know what will. But I get what you're saying, though. That's a good point there.
Tim Patrick
Absolutely.
is another surprise cut. I'm
I
shocked the
forgot about.
Broncos cut him.
Let's see. Mike says Frank Jr. is slow and small. We know where to find him if Ray Davis or James Cook go down. And so good old Frank. I did enjoy watching him that last preseason game. That's really the only time that I got to watch him there. But he quite like 100 plus rushing yards there. So I got no doubt he'll find, a space there. And Mike says they got to stop recruiting these slow running backs. Like
Hey, I'll
he says,
take my New England.
right, right, right.
Frank Gore Jr. as the running back 3. Sign me up. Let him come.
Absolutely. All right, let's see. Mike says, explain Tim receiver guy situation. Wasn't it injuries for Tim Patrick? Oh, do you want to tackle that one first?
Yeah, that's the biggest problem with him. He couldn't stay healthy. Sean Payton tried last year. He told him he was gonna try to keep him around, and to me, it looks like he can't. He can't do nothing really. His injuries are catching up. I'm still shocked that he cut him such because how he's a locker room. How like New England brought KB back, even though he's injury prone and all that. Tim Patrick was a locker guy. I thought they might have kept him around, be the vet, teach the young guys thing, and then move on. But I guess he can't stay healthy.
They say the best ability is availability. Doesn't matter how much upside you bring. If every time you go out there, the team knows you're going to get injured at some point. And I feel like that was the case when it came to Tim Patrick there. And this is going to allow a lot of opportunities for a guy like Marvin Mims. We remember him last year. This will get him a lot more opportunities. I feel like he's in a good position to take, that next step. And not to mention they did also, draft the receiver from Oregon as well. Can't think of his name right now for some reason,
Troy
but
Franklin.
Troy Franklin. So they feel good about their young guys to where an injured guy, even though Tim Patrick, does provide the skills that you're looking for, he can't stay healthy. Can't stay healthy. And you got a couple young guys you invested in. Let's go ahead and let the young guys try to step up with a young quarterback this year. So that's the approach that I think that they took with that situation and why Tim was ultimately let go. Because you look at that, there was a couple guys where I was looking at their roster like, you know what? I like these guys between the two I mentioned, but will they get enough, targets here? So this will allow them to do just that. SM's here in the chat. What's good? SM says, what's good, JB and Ode? So, absolutely. And then not only that, if you can invest in a younger, couple younger targets that are cheaper, that also comes into play as well. So,
True.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Plus, Troy Franklin and Bo necessarily had the connection from college. So he could be your
Exactly.
wide receiver too, your deep threat. Mims is slot, and Sutton's your number one guy. So yeah, Tim was the locker room. I still would have kept him if I was them just for the presence. But I understand why now.
So, yeah, so that's the reason for that one. And Mike says, especially now when the league is getting more and more undrafted heavy as they pay huge amounts to few stars and stuff like that. So, but yeah, speaking of paying, like veterans and stuff like that. So, how do you feel personally about one, the amount of money that's spent towards quarterbacks and stuff like that? Like, do you feel like it's justified and stuff like that? Or what are your thoughts on that?
I always want to play to get his money, but some of these quarterbacks are robbing teams. T Law, Trevor
Oh, yeah.
Lawrence, like, come on, dude, you're not 55 million guaranteed per year. You're not on that level. I would say Deshaun Watson's not on the level that he got his money. He should never got that money. To me, if you want to be a quarterback and you want to win Super Bowls, you got to do what Brady and you got to do what Mahomes did. They are taking far less money than they ever was meant to have. If T Law is making $55 million a year, Mahomes should be making $100 million a year. But he's not.
Right?
He's making less money so the Chiefs can keep the team around him, keep the O line around, keep that defense around, keep Kelsey healthy. And yeah, he doesn't have the best receivers, but he has a pretty good O line, a great tight end, a great defensive tackle, a great head coach. Me personally, you gotta look at this way: either you want the money or you want Super Bowls. You want the legacy. Don't be telling me you want $55 million T-Law one day and then come out the next day saying you want to win Super Bowls when they could either be cutting your linemen or they can't keep you wide receivers.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I mean, tremendous point there. Tremendous point there. I do feel like at some point, because like I love the fact that the salary cap, it goes up, so that means more money for the players. But what I don't like is that it only means the quarterback now because we put such an emphasis on the importance of quarterbacks to where we're making it seem like quarterbacks are doing 90% of the work out there. And that's at least how the pay is starting to, reflect and stuff. I want to see some of those other guys go out there and get paid. I love to see receivers get paid out there. Love to see when the linemen get paid because believe me, you see how bad a team is when you don't have linemen. So let the big men go out there, get their money and stuff. The ends, they're getting paid and stuff as they should because they're the ones who get after the quarterback. They disrupt plays. I just want to see the wealth get spread amongst the team a little bit more and stuff like that. I mean, SM, he's bringing up some good points there. SM says Daniel Jones getting paid like 40 million in a year is insane. Don't get me started on that one. Don't get me started on that. SM says you like Lawrence, you still believe in him, but he did not earn that money. And that's really what it comes down to. Like a lot of the guys that did get paid and stuff like that, what have they really accomplished at this point? Now, JB might sound a little brutal at this point, but it's not that I don't believe in these guys. But if we're talking about, like who's really earned it, let's talk about Tua. I got to start with Tua. You know, Great to see Tua get paid. That's great. I mean, he's got a lot of weapons around him and stuff like that. Got a great coach, but how many playoff games has he won? How many? I mean, yes, he's getting a team to the playoff, but how many playoff games has he won and stuff like that to get that kind of money and stuff like that? You mentioned Trevor Lawrence. What exactly has Trevor Lawrence done so far to where he deserves that money? I mean, I'm looking back and like what the only playoff game that I can recall that really stood out was it a couple years ago against the Chargers, if I'm not mistaken. Were they the team that came back in that one? And so, but I mean, what has he really done to deserve that type of top tier money? And again, no knock on those guys because I do believe both of those guys, they're in a great place. I know some people may, say this and that about them, but they're in a great place, and they'll have their chances to try to prove themselves. But to get paid that kind of money, you're just hurting the team and you haven't done enough to say, like, I understand Lamar getting paid. I understand that. He is basically a huge face of that offense there. He may not, have a championship and stuff like that, but multiple MVPs and stuff like that. So I can justify paying a Lamar Jackson through the air, on the ground. I can justify that if a guy just wants to say, hey, pay me my money and stuff like that. I understand that. But those guys, particularly, you mentioned Daniel Jones. Don't get me started on Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones is getting paid about 10 million for each time he got benched last year and stuff like that. This is the guy you chose over your franchise running back and stuff like that. And even so, if I was Saquon, I probably would have left too, even if the deal was, relatively the same and stuff like that. Because I mean, who wants to basically be in that situation there? Who wants to? But they paid Daniel Jones a lot, a lot. So,
You
absolutely.
think that bad? Dak's 2-5 in the postseason, and he's about to get 60+ mil for a year.
Now, Dak and Kirk, I want their agents. I want their agents and stuff like that. For Dak, I understand Dak just because of the fact that Cowboys had a chance to make that payment earlier, and they said, "Nah, you're going to go ahead and you're going to take that risk. We're not going to pay you immediately." It was like what a couple, like 2, 3 seasons where we had to just listen to, in the off season, like Dak wants his money. They don't want to pay Dak and stuff like that. So if I was Dak, I'd ask for that money too at that point. Because let's be real, Jerry Jones is running the show. So can a Jerry Jones ran team in today's football league actually win a championship? The answer is no.
I don't think
Jerry
so.
Jones is going to mess them up. So if that's the case, I'm like, you got to pay me if you're going to, if I got to be here, you got to pay me for that. So
I think Dak's gone. I don't think he's going back to the Cowboys anyways. I think Jerry Jones wants the Sanders. He wants, and then he's gonna talk to Prime about being the head coach or Belichick.
you know what? I can see, you know what? This is going to be, this is how I
Cause
envision it playing
Sanders,
out.
cause Sanders said he wants to play like Brady. He wants Brady. He wants the Patriots a
Mhm.
lot.
That's true. That's true. So you're absolutely right. I can see because in my mind, if you're telling me like if you're someone from the future and you say Bill Belichick is in the NFL again next year, the first team I'm going to throw out there is going to be the Cowboys. That's the team that I believe, would do it because I mean Robert Kraft did his best to do a hit piece on Bill Belichick to prevent him from getting another job for whatever reason is beyond my mind and stuff like that. Why you would do that, but that's basically what he did. But who's someone that doesn't like Robert Kraft? Jerry Jones and stuff like that.
No,
So
he
he doesn't
doesn't. Ooh,
he doesn't give two nickels about what Robert Kraft has to say. He's not going to come to him for a recommendation at all. So he's going to go purely off of the body of work and say, you know what? I like him. We need someone that's, more disciplined and stuff like that as a coach. So bring him in. So I can see that being the case. I can also see, as you mentioned, them moving on from Dak, and then Jerry Jones saying, "Hey, why don't we start Trey Lance and then draft, go ahead and draft, Shador and have him be the quarterback, but ultimately start a couple games with Trey Lance because he's obsessed with the idea of a Trey Lance out there. That's just his obsession. So crazy times for Cowboy fans. Let's see what Mike said earlier. He says, your running back with the addition of Gibson is nice. Quarterback promising. Tight ends are fire. Drafted two good receivers. My question is, how good is the O line? Take it away, Ode.
Please, my bad neck, arm, and knees can block better than some of these dudes we have right now. Oh my lord, they might be the worst O line in the NFL. The GOAT himself couldn't be behind this line and win the game, or couldn't take us nowhere. So Kobe, you're the test dummy. I'm sorry to say it, brother. Have fun. Try to stay healthy.
Hmm. Exactly. I mean, there's no need for me to follow up on that because that's the truth. That's the truth. Let's see. Mike says the quarterback should have more to prove before quarter billion. You say I'm talking Daniel Jones type or hurt with all this, star receivers, Lamar and Allen. You get it. You say the owners don't push back at all, or they would pay more based on performance. And so, Will, what's good? Will says Jerry chokes. SM says Jerry Jones wants Shador. It's obvious. Mike says he wants Dak to go somewhere where he gets a better chance to show what he got. So, Ode, I know we're looking into a crystal ball here into the future, and it's hard to project into the future. But if we're talking about teams that Dak would really, I guess, that you would like to see, if you're forecasting in the future for Dak to potentially go to. And again, I know we have the entire season and we don't know what's going to play out in the future, but what are some good potential fits for Dak Prescott looking to the future?
The New York Giants might be a good spot because they rivals. He could go back. He could beat the Cowboys, laugh in Jerry's face. Depending on what A-Rod does, New York Jets, it would kill me,
Ooh,
but New York Jets, he'll look good in. And then
those are some
maybe
good
the
ones.
Las Raiders, with Adams would be good for him. I think he might go to them three.
Excellent choices, especially I would say Raiders and Giants. I mean, Giants, if you got that, obviously the Giants, like they would love to go ahead and break the bank, bring them in there and stuff like that. Like, can you just make us back competitive there? That would be tremendous there. So I like that one as well. The Raiders, they say if you got two quarterbacks there, you got none. So that could certainly be a situation for him as well. So I like those two the best there for him also. Maybe, next year maybe Pittsburgh Steelers, perhaps, if they're done with this experiment this year and stuff like that, especially if they move on to a new regime after this year because the plan failed. So who knows?
The Rams could be spot too, depending on what Stafford does.
They believe in Bennett, Stinson Bennett.
They dumb, but
They believe in Stinson Bennett.
they ain't going to the
Here's
Super
the
Bowl and they ain't
future.
winning the Super Bowl.
Oh man, had to throw that one in there. Let's see
You
here.
better off starting
RC,
Jimmy G.
good old Jimmy. Yeah, Jimmy. Yeah. At this point, Jimmy's reserved for all backup purposes. He's the backup that needs a backup because when he goes in there 2, 3 games, he's out again. So he's the backup that needs a backup. Let's see. RC says, "All right, I'm back." You say, "JB, no Trevor Lawrence slander." You caught that? It's not slander. It's not slander. It's just what has he done deserving of the money and stuff like that. Because if we pay guys purely off of potential, then there's no reason why first round picks shouldn't just get that second contract automatically if it's purely off of potential and stuff like that. Like one. I mean, don't get me wrong. Trevor has had his moments. Like there was a point I think last year where the Jaguars were number one in the AFC standings, like around what, like week 8, week 9, or something like that. It was somewhere like middle of the season and stuff like that. So if they could have kept that trend going, then sure. But to make that kind of money and stuff like that, like it's like you got guys like Mahomes out there, you got guys like Lamar Jackson that's, they're deserving of more money. That's just the facts of it. And it's not an insult to Trevor Lawrence because like if he takes less, that means you can build more, around him to help him become that guy that you believe he is. So notice I said that you believe he is. Mike says, "Dang, the O line really stinks." And so, oh yeah. Up. SM says that everybody knows May won that job. And so, and Ode, if you want to touch on that again, I know we talked about it earlier.
Yeah, you clearly could tell May is the best quarterback in the past. But if you've been paying attention, you can't put May behind that line for the first month. You gotta let him try to figure out something. They came in line up right. You telling me you want to put your rookie on a line that came in line right or snap balls right? No, I'm good.
Right. SM, it's all about the long term thing. When Gerard Mayo accepted the head coaching position with the Patriots and stuff like that, he basically, the game plan was we're not building for this season, we're building for the future and stuff like that. So everything they do is a huge emphasis on making sure that we develop our players and stuff like that because we're gonna have to. We're gonna have to. I mean, all that money that we have and stuff like that that we wouldn't pay Matthew Judon and stuff like that, but all that money that we got that's just sitting there, and we're just like, hey, like Brandon Ayuk, you want to get paid? You can come here. Brandon Ayuk's like, I'm good. I'm good. And last year was Hopkins, like, I'm good. I'm good. So nobody really wants to, come there. So we got to develop these young guys, and we don't want to destroy the kid's confidence. He's got a lot of things going for him. Everybody knows Drake May outperformed Jacoby Brissett, but everybody also should know that there was a fake quarterback competition. It wasn't really a quarterback competition. The game plan was for Gerard Mayo to bring in Jacoby Brissett, for him to go in there and to take the beating that the offensive line is going to allow him to get and stuff like that for the first couple of weeks and stuff like that, and allow Drake May to continue to develop at a slow pace, not rush him out there because they don't want to crush the kid's confidence and stuff like that because he's got a lot of good things going for him. He's getting better. Let him continue to get better and stuff like that because we know how quickly people like everybody can change on you. Think about Bryce Young last year. The man played 1 year and stuff like that. Peyton Manning rookie year was awful, and we saw what happened with him. It turned around, but many people I've seen it, and I know fantasy football is not real football, but I see a lot of people in fantasy football won't even draft a guy like Bryce Young and stuff like that off of one season last year where it just didn't look good. Well, if you compare the offensive line that Bryce Young had last year and the offensive line New England have this year, you're going to see a lot of similarities, and it's not a good thing at all. So therefore, to save the kid, to protect the future, that's why Gerard Mayo said what's best for the team right now may not be what's best for the team later on. I quote him for saying that, and that means Jacoby Brissett is best for the team, not when it comes to wins and losses, but he's best for helping us protect our future asset and making sure that Drake May does not get destroyed behind this offensive line. Because a terrible offensive line is one of the quickest ways to lose a quarterback and stuff like that. I honestly feel like, I know we give Sam Darnold a hard rap and stuff like that, but you look at his early years with the Jets and stuff like that, he was getting beaten like a rag dog and stuff like that. It never works out when the quarterback just continuously takes a beating time in and time out and stuff like that. To this day, I'm convinced that David Carr could have been a better quarterback if he did not get put in such a terrible situation that he had down there in Houston. So that's one of the things that you really got to consider when it comes to a young guy and stuff like that. Like that's really something that you've got to take into consideration. I know Houston had success with CJ Stroud last year, but I also know that Houston was bad for many years, which allowed them a lot of time to accumulate a lot of draft picks and stuff like that and build a team to where they just needed to have a guy who can really run the show. And when they got him, everything took off. Everything was already in play for the most part to help them, succeed. All right, let's see. RC says, imagine he becomes a Panther. Let's see. Mike says, did Old say Giants? He did say that Dak would be a good fit for the Giants. Yes, correct. SM says Dak to the Titans if Levis doesn't work out. Oh, what are your thoughts on Will Levis this upcoming season?
I think he could be good, but his biggest problem is the same problem RG3 has. They don't know how to slide. For some reason, Levis thinks he's Superman. He wants to truck people. Dude, slide. He told Milton did in preseason. He's trying to truck with his right arm. One good, wrong, no, sorry. The wrong hit at the right time to that shoulder, your career's done for. You better start sliding before you take the wrong hit and be done. Because he could be a good quarterback. They built the weapons around him. Say what you want about their age. They got D Hop, who can go up and be the 50-50. They got Calvin Ridley, who's going to be the route runner. And then you got the old man Boiled from the Bengals who came over. He's going to be your slot guy. He's going to be your 5-yard throw to. He's a good dude. His problem is he needs to start sliding because if he doesn't slide and he doesn't get down, he'll be the new Andrew Luck or the new RG3, a quarterback with great upside who did not last because the house.
Exactly. And Anthony Richardson also, I would put in that same boat. Like gotta protect yourself. Gotta protect yourself. But we got a question here for you, Old from Kuzman. What's good with you? And so, can you see the question there, Old? How do you feel
Yeah,
about
he already
Asante
knows how I
Samuels?
feel about that no good son of a. Oh, you're trying to make me go off on this man again. I can't stand him. If I ever see. Next question. Let's just say that. Next question. Forget that bum. Forget that bum.
Oh man, Kuzman, I'll chime in a little bit about Asante Samuels and stuff like that. He's the very definition of what I consider to be a traitor and stuff like that. I mean, first of all, if he makes that interception in the Super Bowl and stuff like that, I don't have to deal with all of this Eli Manning talk and stuff like that. Everywhere I go, different posts when we talk about goats, somehow Eli name gets thrown in there. And really, he threw what should have been an interception, but Asante Samuels, the guy who's supposed to have great hands, known for interceptions, couldn't make the play when it mattered the most. He's bitter. He's upset and stuff like that. He wasn't the first player to get, let to not get the money that he wanted and stuff like that. I mean, Bill did the best that he could to manage the team roster. That's just how it is and stuff like that. For long-term success, that's something that eventually Kansas City at some point is going to run into that issue and stuff like that. And they're doing a pretty good job there because they did trade, Tyreek Hill. Why? Because they had to think about the money to continue to spread to be competitive and stuff like that. Yes, some teams can go in there and spend a lot of money and win a Super Bowl, but then they go back to being average after a couple of seasons because it's not something that you can sustain with the current salary cap. So there had to be cuts. But man, that man is always salty. He's always coming after Pat's Nation and stuff like that, man. And so
He's a
it's man,
bum.
he's just like
How
it's
you
just
drop the easiest pick, man? Come on, do you? And let's be real. He's upset at Belichick because Belichick replaced him with anybody.
mhm,
Anybody. That's one thing Belichick was good at was plugging that corner spot and replacing people. Samuel, you no good
exactly.
bastard. You took the money from Eli. You cost New England the Super Bowl. I hope you lie.
Oh man, we'll go to the next question. Or at least the next comment. Let's see. SM says, we good. Old Rams have no interest in Dakota. RC says, JB, if the NFL paid merely off potential, this would be the NBA. And so there it is. There it is. And so SM says, salute RC. Will says, ask Joe Burrow. LOL. And so, yeah, Burrow. Although Burrow, that time he took his team to the Super Bowl, that just speaks to the greatness of Joe Burrow. Because like that offensive line wasn't great at that time, but he still had them to where they were just a few plays removed from being able to beat the Rams in that Super Bowl. But since then, he's certainly been paying the cost in terms of health. And so
I would
Mike
say
says,
they were a few seconds away. If that old line gave Burrow like 2 more seconds, uh, Ramsey fell down. Burrow had a
yep.
wide open guy for a touchdown.
Oh yeah, Ramsey was getting burnt in that game. I remember that he was getting burnt. Let's see. Mike says, dumb Bears O line always stinks. JJ's back. Let's see. All right, another question for us. Guzman says, another question. If we got Judon from the Pats, is it possible for us to get Christian Gonzalez for a draft pick? That's a no.
He's just
That's a no.
he's looking for to get time. He's been trolling me for the last couple of days. He just wants to get time to be done with. No, you can't have Gonzo. Leave us alone. Stop trying to be us.
All right.
You
We
ain't
don't
winning
have
the
many
Super
good
Bowl.
things. We don't have many good things right now, but let us keep the few good things we do have. And Christian Gonzalez, I'm still wondering what did Washington think? I forget the name of the dude that they drafted right ahead, like the pick right before Christian Gonzalez for the Washington Commanders. I know he was a cornerback, but why did they draft him? Like over Christian Gonzalez? I was shocked in a good way.
Because he's flashy. He got a lot of picks, but if you pay real attention to him, yeah, he got picked. He's they in their mind he was Diggs 2.0, a corner that they could elevate, build, get like motivate him up his game once a year, let him elevate. but the dude's just horrible. Like, yeah, he got a lot of picks, but he's getting bumped. He's time to go. Hey, I want Commanders drafting every year ahead of us. They gave
So
us
yeah,
Gonzo. They gave us May. I'm happy.
yeah, I personally would love to have them picking ahead of us for that each year. It tends to work out, I guess. It tends to work out, but I do feel really good about Jaden Daniels. He was the guy who I wanted as my first choice and stuff like that. So I do believe. In a matter of fact, in one of my fantasy leagues, I did end up drafting Jaden Daniels there as my quarterback. So I took a chance. We'll see how that works out. Let's see. SM says Emmanuel Forbes there. All right, appreciate that. Yep. And so let's see. Kuzma says, "Isn't Forbes solid?" And so,
No,
I mean,
he gets beat.
got to work on that technique.
Dude,
RC
you tell
says,
me if he's solid, Casman. He's getting beat by third string. He's getting beat that people not even on the NFL no more. He got beat by.
dang, when you put it that way, by people that's not even in the NFL anymore. All right, let's see. RC says, "JB, I'm about to do a quick mock in 5 minutes. Everything seems good, but I put players in the queue, though. You said you're going to put all the players in the queue. That defeats the purpose." RC says JB not about to have me out here looking like Boo Boo the Fool. And yeah, I know that Endazo will be live streaming during our draft and stuff like that. So if anybody wants to actually see the like draft and stuff like that, Endazo is going to be doing a live stream for his you know drafting on from his side on his channel. So yeah, that'll be fun there. Let's see. Kuzma's got another one for us. All right, let's see. Let's see what he got. He says, "One last troll before I take a nap." You said, "I believe Joe Milton should start as quarterback 2, then have Drake May quarterback 3."
What's
Oh,
crazy is
man.
Joe Milton be QB1 on the Falcons. He's better than Penix and he's better than Cook. You could have had your
QB.
QB1 for way cheaper. You overspent on your money, you crazy Falcons. Just like you're soaking the Super Bowl, you're gonna soak this year away. You're gonna win your division and then you're gonna lose in the playoffs. You bums.
All right, JJ says, "Got to go, but he'll try to come back later on." Appreciate the heads up, JJ. And Kuzma said, "Old man Mob is the best guy around." You heard it here first. He says, "Never mind, he takes that back." He took it back, oh. Oh, man. But yeah, so I guess I'll go ahead and change the topic here and talk about some of the other players that I did like just list that I'm looking forward to watching specifically for this upcoming college football season, just to see, like obviously either they're coming back from an injury or a letdown or something like that. And I want to see how they're going to look this upcoming season. Because if these guys really stand up, these are your X factors, in my opinion, for this upcoming college football season. And of course, once I mention these guys, you can go ahead and, elaborate on your thoughts on these guys if you want to, chime in as well, or either the team in general that they're on, if that, works as well. And let's see, Mike says Ode is right. All
uh,
right, so I mentioned Cam Rising earlier, but here we're going to start with Texas A&M's very own Connor Regman. And I mean, 2022, and I wrote down, he had like, he had set the true freshman record in his first start in 2022. He threw for like 338 yards passing, and also, 4 passing touchdowns against Ole Miss. So he had some very good ups during that season and stuff like that. And so definitely looking forward to seeing what A&M, because if you think about A&M, when was the last time that A&M really was a team where you're like, okay, the ranking is justified and stuff like that. Like I got to go back to when they probably had maybe Kellen Mond, I'm thinking, and stuff like that, in terms of like A&M being a true contender, where they're like, you remember that year that they went to like 7 overtimes with LSU and stuff like that, back when LSU still had Big Ed Adgeron back there as the head coach and stuff like that. And so that was when the quarterback play. So the biggest difference is going to be for them that quarterback play. So if he can go in there for A&M and light it up, he's going to have an opportunity going against, Notre Dame. If he can go in there and really play to his capability and stuff like that, then I can see them upsetting a team like Notre Dame. But it's going to come down to his play. If he does great, they can win. If he doesn't go out there and perform, they'll be the A&M that we've gotten used to seeing over the last couple seasons. Any thoughts on Texas A&M? Oh,
Oh no, I agree. I think they're gonna, if they want to win and they want to go farther, it's gonna be on the quarterback. He's gonna have to carry this team. If he has a bad game, they're more than likely gonna lose. He's gonna have to be almost perfect to get them to where they want to be.
I believe that they're going to have as a guest the great Johnny Manziel in the stadium there for that one. So
Oh boy,
Johnny football.
everybody's gonna be
Tell,
doing the money sign.
tell me this, if Johnny football did not, if he wasn't so cocky back then, and obviously all the trouble he got into, do you feel that he could have had a better, like a good NFL career?
If he actually gave a kill, like he gave
If,
about it,
yeah.
yeah. He said it himself. He really didn't kill. Like it was party, party, party. And let's be real, he went to Cleveland. Cleveland was a horrible team even with before he got there. They
Mhm.
he needed a place that had everything around him built. He needed a head coach maybe like Belichick or like an old school head coach to like, hey, or a vet QB to say, hey, that's not how we do things. You're the future. These are men looking at you. They putting food on the table. You mess up, you take your food off the table. You need to pay attention. He didn't kill. He and I'm glad he didn't go to the Cowboys because if he went to the Cowboys,
Oh
I
man.
think I don't think he'd be alive. That's how bad I think it would have been bad.
They say there's many things as a coach that you can teach, but one thing they say that you can't teach is want to. A person's drive and stuff like that, especially at this stage and stuff like that. When you're already at the NFL, the drive is something you should have already developed at some point throughout high school. Definitely, you know, by the time you reach college, it should have been there and stuff like that. But you're right. I mean, it comes down to your circle as well. And this doesn't just go for Manziel and stuff like that, but many other players. It comes down to your circle as well, you know. And I know this is, different sport, but you look at a guy like Ja Morant and stuff like that, all the ability, he has everything that you can look for in terms of just being that exciting guy that everybody wants to see. He goes out there. You see what Memphis looked like with him, what they look like without him, and stuff like that. But at the same time, you question, the guys around him and stuff like that. Your circle, or do they really have your best interest? If you're in a situation, are they gonna encourage you to take a risk in which ultimately, you're risking millions and stuff like that, of dollars and stuff like that, that it's going to cost you and stuff like that. Especially that, hey, I already got in trouble. I shouldn't be continuing the same pattern. But if the guys around you are continuing and they're your influence, you're going to want to do what your boys are doing. So your circle matters a lot.
Oh, that's definitely true. And it could even be worse than that. They can end up like Aaron Hernandez because he couldn't get
Oh
away
man.
from his circle. He couldn't put his back like he couldn't push them away. He thought he was the man. He had to show off. That's why I'm glad people are stepping in for John because he needs to slow down because he could end up bad. It can end up bad. Like people have to think about more importantly than trying to be like the guy. Take care of your friends. Yeah, I know you're not supposed to leave everybody behind, but sometimes you have to leave people behind to better yourself and better them.
And if your circle is truly for you, they should want what's best for you and all like that, especially if they know that you taking care of them and stuff like that, in terms of like, we want to go out there. Like, 'cause like half the places we only going because of him and stuff like that. So if we have an opportunity to protect this image and stuff like that, that's the least we can do. He's out there balling on the court. He's doing the hard part and stuff like that. And so that's definitely something to consider. Definitely something to consider. Now, I did not come into today planning to talk about John Morant or talking about Johnny Manziel, but hey, conversation just so happened to flow that way. And so I mentioned on A&M, but also in the same game, My next player is Notre Dame Raleigh Leonard, and him again coming over from Duke and stuff like that. The guy can certainly he's a good solid passer and stuff like that. Now, is he going to go out there and throw for 300 yards? No. Is he going to go out there and throw for 250? I say his range ideally is somewhere between 200 to about 240, somewhere in that closer to about that 225, 235 range. Typically, is what you should expect in terms of passing yards per game on average for a guy like that. But he does make, the right throws and stuff like that. He can make the throws and stuff. And so I feel like now I felt the same way last year about the guy that they had in there at quarterback and stuff that they recruited from Wake Forest the year before and stuff like that, in which his name eludes me. But he got cut by the Commanders. Sam Hartman. And so, but if Riley can go in there and really just hold down the position and stuff like that, because you're going to have, a solid offensive line with this team. They're going to always compliment you with, tight ends and receivers and stuff. So the talent that you're playing with, would be on par or better than what he had over there at Duke. And believe me, he had a couple good receivers down there at Duke, but this is certainly a situation where he's an X factor that if he can elevate these guys around him and stuff like that, then that's only going to make Notre Dame a true college football playoff contender. But if he doesn't, then it's going to cost them. Your thoughts on Notre Dame?
Notre Dame, they got their old line's gonna have to be top notch. I know people try to hear me speaking of O line, but Notre Dame in the past have had at least one of the top O lines. They got to keep it going if they want the quarterback to stay healthy. If not, to pack it in, just look at the guys and say we ain't going nowhere. Because like you said, they 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 got good players. They got the guy coming like you spoke of. The quarterback is good,
Mhm.
but they just gotta keep him up.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, you look at from Notre Dame's perspective here, obviously we know you don't have a conference there. And so 12-team playoff, if you run the tables there, easy path there, to get in. But at the same time, you go out there and you lose, multiple games for some reason and stuff like that, or you have, an off game and you lose really badly in one game and stuff like that, that threatens everything because you don't have that extra conference win to say, okay, I won my conference and stuff like that. It's a guaranteed end. So you're out there competing with the, not for the top four spots, but for the remaining spots already. So a one-loss Notre Dame team versus a team like LSU, if they go out there and lose like two games very close and stuff like that, but they, competed hard. Or either, if an Alabama team lost two, then they're going to get the nod to that SEC team that lost two games and stuff like that and look really good, especially if they're coming into their zone, late in the season and they have some close losses over a one-loss Notre Dame team just because of the simple fact that you're not in a conference and your schedule is basically handpicked and stuff like that. It's handpicked, and I don't see them scheduling a lot of teams in that top five, top 10 on their schedule. So that's how I see it. All right, so I had them listed. Now we get to talk about a fun part here. And anybody in the chat that wants to chime in with these guys as well, feel free to. But just a couple of freshmen that I wrote down that caught my attention and stuff like that. I'll start with, of course, the Ohio State Buckeyes. Jeremiah Smith, wide receiver, very dynamic there. And I mean, Ohio State does a tremendous job at recruiting wide receivers. Tremendous job at recruiting wide receivers. That's a staple and what we do here. And so I do believe, in Jeremiah Smith's abilities and stuff like that. Then you combine the fact that, we've got a lot of other guys that are returning as well in that receiving room and stuff like that. But I'm really excited to see Jeremiah Smith, take form with Ohio State, out there over the next couple of seasons. So that's certainly one freshman that I was most excited about. Oh, is there a freshman that stood out to you? Did JB steal your freshman?
You did, but I got Aaron Butler. I think he's gonna be real good. He's a true. He's a young buck. I think. I don't know if he should stay at Texas. I think he should transfer somewhere like maybe Ohio, maybe Alabama, somewhere where they used to having wide receivers, so he can get like a better development. But so far, he's the guy I'm keeping an eye on.
Okay, okay. And so we both went after receivers here. I'll throw a little wrench here and throw in a tackle here. Y'all know JB, if I don't throw in linemen very often here, but Jordan Satan, the left tackle there for Colorado, so one of the, more highly ranked, linemen coming in, very exciting. And we talked about it earlier, Ode, about, Shador, needing time and stuff like that. And they're a pass heavy team. We saw that in full display. Nothing's changed in terms of that regard. So just him having the time to go out there and make those plays is going to be critical as the season continues to go on. You wanted the difference between them being a 4-win team and them being like a 6-win team. It's going to come down to the offensive line play and stuff like that. So they can make that one or two extra play. That's the difference between winning or losing a lot of the shootouts that they're going to be in. And so ultimately, I felt like that's one that's like, okay, like I want to see what this kid's got. So that's what I went for that one. All right, I'll try to get a defensive player. Let's go with Jaden Jackson, a defensive tackle for Oklahoma. And so for Oklahoma, going to the SEC now, there's going to be bigger linemen that you're facing on a regular basis. And so you're gonna need the ability to, run, stop, and just really like win some of those battles against those linemen. And so although I'm not saying, first year expecting to, just go out there and get 10 plus, like sacks or anything like that, but it's a good foundation piece for the type of brand of football that they're going to need to play in the SEC now. You're not just going against just one team. Now you're going against the entire slate of the SEC. And so it's going to be important that you also recruit at that level, as well to play their brand of football.
Well, for defense, I like Aaron Flowers. I believe he's going to play safety for Oregon. He's a
Ooh,
safety, but he could also play cornerback if you need him to. So he's one dude I would keep an eye on in Oregon. He's going to be like that hybrid guy that could play mainly corner, mainly safety, but if you need him to play slot corner and maybe a couple snaps in outside corner, he can do it.
okay, okay. All right. So that concludes my list with that. So now we get to talk about some of the players that we feel like obviously last year they had big years, but maybe we might be a little concerned about whether or not they're going to have like replicate that season. Whether it be, like knock on wood, it doesn't happen, but maybe an injury slows it down. Maybe they've got a new quarterback situation or something like that. If it's a receiver, or maybe the O line's not as good if it's a running back, or just whatever the reason is, they lost their coordinator or something. But who's someone that had success last year that you're hesitant to say, like, hey, they're going to replicate that success?
Um, uh, you go first, so give me a sec because I'm trying to look up my list real quick. Sorry.
Okay, okay, yeah, absolutely. So for me, a guy that I'm a little concerned for, and there's probably multiple players on this team and stuff like that, is for the Rams, Kyron Williams. And so, do I like Kyron Williams? A lot and stuff like that, a lot. But I did notice that they did invest in Corin Blake, fourth round pick, and they compared him a lot to Kyron Williams. And last year, a lot of Kyron Williams' early success, when it came to the pass game and contributing in the pass game, it was when Cooper Cup was hurt and stuff like that. So, that knowing that the Rams seem like they want to use multiple, running backs in the backfield at some point. It may not start off that way the first couple of weeks, but at some point I expect that they will transition to getting Blake Corum more and more involved and stuff like that. So I think that the success that we saw from Kyron Williams and what made him special last year, we may not see that replicated again this upcoming season. That's just how it works in the NFL. You go out there, have a good season, but then the team brings in someone to share the load with you and stuff like that. Now he'll still have his successes, but it won't be to the magnitude of what we saw last year when he jumped into the scene and like Matthew Stafford, looking for him left and right down there out the backfield in key situations. So that's
My
one
guy,
guy.
I think
Uh,
For me, oh, I'm sorry.
No, no, yeah, yeah. I was done. I was just stalling.
Oh, mine is same kind of. I think they're gonna try to not use him as much as they did because they just drafted Trey Bison. So I think they're gonna try to get the rookie more involved, and with him only being on a 1 year contract, I believe, and with him getting up to that
Ooh.
old age for running backs, I think they might try to put the young buck in. You could see James on the trade block by week 8 before the trade deadline.
You know what? That would make sense. Depending now, of course, how their season goes. But if there's one thing we know about James Conner, he's going to miss games throughout the course of the season. That's just something that he has always done and stuff. The question is, how many games will he end up missing throughout the course of the season? But you bring up
And
a
that's
great point.
when,
That's when
and
Trey
then
comes
like you
in,
said,
and
when he get and comes takes over, Connor's like,
mhm,
okay, we sorry, but we're gonna go with the young buck, and they might try to trade him, or it's just let him be the backup and then walk in free agency.
yep. It could be that, our 50-50%, carry share. It could be a lot, like, especially just depending on how the Cardinals end up doing this upcoming season and stuff like that. I've spoken with a few people that they have the Cardinals as their surprise team for this upcoming season. So if Kyler Murray can stay healthy and stuff like that, obviously they drafted our guy Marvin Harrison Jr. and stuff like that. I saw on Twitter the other day when someone was still saying that we still should have drafted Marvin Harrison Jr. as a
Oh,
Pat
I
fan, but
wanted to, but
in the perfect world, we would have been able to get both. But we couldn't do like Houston did 2 years, like last 2 years ago when they went ahead, took C.J. Stroud, and then went back up there and got Will Anderson. I wish we could have did the same thing. Drake May got back up there, got Marvin Harrison Jr. That would have been, oh my gosh, JB would have been doing cartwheels. So, oh man. But yeah, so another player, I guess, that I'm looking at, it's like, okay, so how will he do this year? For me, and this was someone that came on late for me because at first I was like, okay, he's gonna do great this year. But now I'm looking at Anthony Richardson kind of side eye, like, all right, you didn't play that many games last year. I didn't realize that last year he only threw like what 3 touchdowns, 1 interception throughout the course of the games that he played. That doesn't tell me anything. I mean, did he look good in that time? Yes, running, but he gets hurt when he runs. So I'm looking at him as a guy like I still need to see more. I still need to see more.
it might be unpopular. But I think Justin Fields, you could throw him in the same spot with Anthony Richardson because let's take facts. Russell Wilson's not. We all know who's the better quarterback. Justin Fields gives them the better chance of winning it. It's Russell Wilson's the vet. He's getting the opportunity week 1. But Justin Fields to me has to show it this year. It's make it or break it year for him. If he goes out there and shows he can be a starting quarterback, Pittsburgh might resign him. But if he goes out there and do what he did last year, running into the offense, missing guys wide open, talking about touchdowns, not even looking, I think Justin might be out of the league or as a backup, as a guy like Taysom Hill.
One of the biggest disservice that I feel like the Steelers did for themselves is bringing in Arthur Smith and stuff like that from a quarterback perspective. And so, I mean, Desmond Ritter, like I'm not saying that Desmond Ritter was great and stuff like that, but whatever potential he had, clearly escaped and stuff like that, up under Arthur Smith's guidance and stuff like that. And again, I know he was the head coach, so difference between head coach, offensive coordinator, but we know that Arthur Smith wants to run the ball. That's what we do know. So, and we also know he brought over Colorado Patterson, so him, Jalen Warren in the backfield, you got Najee Harris, and so you add Justin Fields there from a running perspective, that gives you potentially 4 options on any given play and stuff like that. 4 options there really that you can utilize throughout the course of a game, which really brings you back to how things were in Atlanta, where they had Algier in the backfield. They had a Colorado Patterson. They drafted by John last year. And then if you just add Fields to that, if they were to do that, then hey, that's just another option, another element there. But Pittsburgh offensively, oh, JB's not high on him at all. And I don't think that they have the guy that can help them develop correctly throughout the course of the season for a guy like Justin Fields to really elevate his game. What Justin Fields needed and stuff like that, instead of Kenny Pickett being the guy that got sent to a team like Philly and stuff like that, although well, honestly, he really needs to go to Kansas City as a backup and learn there because we saw, up under Andy Reid's guidance. I remember when Michael Vick came back and stuff like that, from the time he spent out of the NFL and stuff like that. But when he came back and he was behind Donovan McNabb and stuff like that, when he finally did get his chance, Michael Vick put together his best passing season up under the guidance of an Andy Reid. It's like he took the tools and he was able to put the puzzle together. And that's what Justin Fields needed. If he's going to sit, don't sit behind, a Russell Wilson on a Steelers team that doesn't have anything to offer offensively and stuff like that, with a running back who's half his foot's out the door and stuff like that, and a man that's just recycling tools that didn't get him anything at his previous job and stuff like that with Janu Smith and all like that. Don't go there. Go to a place like Kansas City where you're really going to be able to learn, see an excellent quarterback, have an excellent coach, excellent system, and then, see how that works out. But then I just remembered Matt Nagy's over there. So Matt Nagy's going to shoot that down before it gets anywhere.
Well, in Sustin's defense, he did get traded, so he didn't get to pick where he wanted to go. But for me, if I'm Sustin after this season, if I'm not even with the Steelers, or even if I am with the Steelers, I'm going to Lamar and talking to him. Because say what you want, Lamar has became a better passer than he became in the NFL. Like Lamar's gonna take off and run, but Lamar's also looking down the field, looking when he's running. Sustin doesn't do that. If you notice Lamar, he's
Mhm.
looking up and he's running. Sustin's looking down and booking.
Oh
So
yeah.
if I'm him, I will go to Lamar and ask him to work with him. I would even call Brady, Mike Vick. I'd be calling any one of the older people who's up in the mental, like the brain. Their body might not be able to do it, but their mind. Because Sustin, he looks broken. He looks
Hmm.
mentally unstable when in the pocket, and he does. And you could blame the Bills didn't have a great line, but when you go back and you watch the games, he had people open, and Sustin seeing ghosts. He's looking like, oh no, I had to run, and he's running right into defenders. So if I'm him, I'm
Exactly.
calling Lamar, I'm calling Brady, I'm calling everybody I can to come work with me.
Right. And about the trade for Justin Fields, if memory serves me right, I believe Pittsburgh gave him the choice where he wanted to go, and he chose. I'm not Pittsburgh. Chicago gave him the choice where he wanted to get traded to, and he wanted to get traded to Pittsburgh specifically.
Oh, did
And
he?
that's yeah.
Okay, well
So
then that's on him. Then that's on him. He probably thought he had a better chance of starting. So
that's what he was thinking. He wasn't thinking about his development. He's like, I want to be the starter. That's what he was thinking. Where can I go and compete? So exactly. Let's see. Mike says Isaiah Spiller having a rough go, waived again. That man stay getting waived. And so,
man,
oh
I
yeah,
liked him coming out of college, but Spiller
oh
hasn't
yeah,
lived up to it.
absolutely. But man, to think we've got the season of next week, fantasy tonight. Good times, man. Good times. Good times.
Yes, week one's coming up quick. What do you call it? Chase might not be playing against New England if he doesn't show up for practice.
Yep, I sort of anticipated that when we were talking about the Bengals and Patriots preview and stuff like that. So I think Bengals win final score of 27-10 and stuff like that against the Patriots, 27-10 or something like that. And so I'll be generous and say that somehow we'll find a way to fall into the end zone. But 27-10. Burrow typically gets off to a slower start, and Burrow's coming off an injury where I can't recall another quarterback having his specific injury and stuff like that. So we'll have to see, if that's still a factor and stuff like that. Zach Moss and stuff like that. I'm not a big believer that he's going to have that same success he had the year prior. I thought that he was just in a good system, but going to Cincinnati, I don't think that's going to be the case and stuff. And Cincinnati likes to run the ball a lot of this shotgun and stuff like that. So I don't think he's going to have that same success that he experienced last season. But I do like Chase Brown and stuff like that. I feel like Chase Brown eventually will just edge out in terms of getting more share of the carry as the season goes on and stuff like that. But of course, Cincinnati still do good things. They still got T. Higgins and stuff like that. Great opportunity for him to make that case, this upcoming offseason. He's going to want to go ahead and get paid. So great case for him. Great case for him. All right, let's see. Mike says, which college games are you doing, JB? Yeah, so tomorrow, JB's going to be doing 3 games. I'm going to be doing Clemson versus Georgia, the first game, and then immediately we're going to have to switch over to Florida versus Miami. And I set up separate streams for that, so that means as soon as that stream concludes, I'll have to sign out, sign back in for the next one, because it's going to happen back to back. So any type of delay, I'm really hoping that there's no delay to the start of the Clemson Georgia game and stuff like that. And that game finishes when it's supposed to go. Otherwise, we'll have to start the Florida Miami one late. If so, that's perfectly fine with JB. Then after that, the third game is going to be Notre Dame versus Texas A&M. So 3 games tomorrow, which you know what, Ode? You remember what we used to do on the channel about 2 years ago when we used to talk about, what was it? And Mike, if you remember it as well, I know we did the pizza matchup, the popcorn matchup. What was the third one that we had? I thought we had like 3 ways, as in pizza was obviously the best matchup. Popcorn, I think, was the second best, but I cannot remember
Popcorn.
what we had for the third one and stuff like that.
I can't either. I remember popcorn and pizza.
We might have
Um,
to create a third one.
oh,
All right, let's see. Mike says, please know I'm rooting Patriots this week. And so you said Miami will be fire. And you said Clemson game, too much fire this early. Mike says you forgot to mention you saw all the new conferences. And so great. That's right. We had the Papa John's, the popcorn ready. Was it the Bojangles? Was that the third one?
I think it might have been Bojangles. It probably was. Because
Yeah,
we had
Mike's got to think about
pizza,
that one too. Got to think of
popcorn.
the third one. Okay, so while we think of what that third one is, and if we don't come up with one, I'll just say the third one would be the Bojangles and stuff like that. Because I remember back then Bojangles was really big. So obviously your best matchup, your Papa John's matchup, your must see, your first one that you're most excited for. Popcorn is your second one, and then third one we'll say is the Bojangles. So all the matchups and stuff like that for college football. And if you need me to pull up all the matchups, I can do that for you. Give you some time to look at that.
Yeah, if you want to do that.
Yeah, give me 1 second here, and I'll go ahead and pull that up on my end. And then we can go through and let everybody, make their picks here. All right, so I got it pulled up here. Let me just share my screen here. RC back in the building. He says JB Stir. Everybody's trying to get a leg up on us. Oh, they know we're streaming, so they're trying to, get that board ready, get that queue lined up.
They're trying to take
I
all
wonder
my
if
players.
Carmichael's going to take Najee Harris again with the first pick.
If he does, Dag.
Oh,
Kick him
man.
out the
All
league.
right. Brutal. All right. So, all right. Let me see if I want to get away where I can see it all here, but man, there's a lot of games coming on today. So I'll say that. But we'll look at Saturdays, since Saturday has most of the bigger ones. Let's see. RC says he doesn't need no dang Q. He says he's just that good. He's just that good. All right. So, and again, let me know if you need me to scroll up or scroll down, Ode, if it helps you look at more teams and
Oh, I
stuff
got
like
it on my
that.
tablet.
Okay, perfect.
At the same time, I was looking it up on my tablet.
All right. So yeah, whenever you're ready, just go ahead and let us know.
I'm ready whenever you are. I think
All right. Yeah.
Miami
So
and Florida is gonna be one. It's gonna be
all right.
a
So,
good one. And my
okay.
first one, my pizza one, the one I'm gonna be watching is Clemson and Georgia.
Okay. Clemson, Georgia. Okay.
And then Miami and Florida. And then of course you already know I gotta watch Ohio.
That's right. So
Gotta
you've
watch
got
the
Ohio
Buckeyes.
State as the Bojangle matchup. So
Yeah, you already know I
okay.
gotta watch them.
All right. Perfect. 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 So for me, looking at this deep schedule, and again, just very happy that we have college football in general and stuff like that back. But I'll say for me, my Papa John's matchup is in. If you're just tuning in, that means my top matchup that I'm looking forward to the most this upcoming weekend is probably going to be the Florida Miami one, simply because both of these teams, it is so critical for their season to make or break their season here. You look at Florida, they have an extremely tough schedule. But if they can start off with a win at home down there in the swamp versus Miami, that will certainly get this ship going in the right direction here. They can't afford to lose this game if they plan on being, in my opinion, a bowl game. But that being said, Miami, on the other hand, they brought in, Cam and stuff like that to see what he can do offensively for the team. They're tired of being that team that starts off ranked and loses. They've acknowledged that multiple times throughout the offseason, saying, hey, we understand we have let people down. We've let ourselves down, the last couple of years. And they really want to prove that this year is different. And they've got a tremendous passer that they, brought in through the portal and stuff like that. They've got the talent. Mario Cristobal, I still believe in him. I remember what he did down there in Oregon and stuff like that. So we're going to look and see exactly how this Hurricane team, looks out there. In my opinion, we're going to find out which of the two teams are for real. Obviously, we know this has big implications when it comes to, recruiting and things like that. So that's my Papa John's play there. And so, Mike, if you want to let us know which one is your Papa John's pick, and anybody else here, again, Papa John's pick means your top matchup for this upcoming weekend. And if you need JB to scroll up or down or something like that, let JB know. But your personal top matchup there are no wrong answers. So RC, if you wanted to say Iowa versus Illinois State, there's no wrong answer there. There's no wrong
That Florida
answer.
and Miami game could get real nasty though. Like you said, they both know that can make
Hmm.
or break it for them. It could get real mean. It could be some fights.
Oh yeah. Yeah, they got a lot of pride there. A lot of these guys probably went to school together, rival schools and stuff, keeping it in the state and stuff like that. So absolutely, absolutely. So Cam Ward, how's he gonna be able to do? Let's see. All right. So Mike says, has anyone ever looked at how many calories in a Pop Tart? He says, how many calories in one tart? He also says, Flash, Giants, Adoree Jackson 1 year. Let's see. RC says he'll go with Notre Dame versus Texas A&M as his Papa John's game of the day. So, okay. Okay. I like it. I like it. All right. So, second for JB on the list. And again, just looking through the teams here, and trying to make sure that I don't overlook any key matchup here is going to be all right. All right. So yeah. So my all right. Perfect. So yeah. So my popcorn matchup is going to be USC versus LSU because to me this is going to tell me the story of what do these two teams look like this year? Both of these teams, USC and LSU, they were pretty similar last year in a sense to where little to no defense, both heavily reliant on their pass game, their quarterback and stuff like that. For LSU, they lost not just their quarterback, but also neighbors as well. That's a big chunk of what they did. Who is this year's LSU identity? When I first, over the last, like decade, when you thought of LSU, you used to think of the defense first. Now you think of the offense first. What's their identity this year? Can they replicate the success that they had passing wise last year and just offensively? And can the defense be improved from last year? Because the better the defense is, the better this team's going to be in general. Then you look at USC. Now you're in the Big Ten here. Can you get off with a big win? Like obviously you lost Caleb Williams, first pick of the draft. We know that. You also lost, Jerry Rice's son and stuff like that. So you lost a couple pieces there, but you do have some pieces returning as well offensively. So can it come together? They lost their running back also, I believe, and so can it come together here on the road at a very hostile environment in LSU? Because if you're in at USC, there's going to be some hostile places. When you play Penn State at Penn State, it's going to be hostile. When you go down to Michigan, it's going to be hostile. Ohio State, Oregon, it's going to be very hostile. So how do you handle opening game down there at LSU? That is why I have this one as my popcorn game, because it's going to tell me a lot of information in terms of what I can expect from these two teams this upcoming season. Who is for real and justify the rankings there? Is LSU really a top 25 team? I'm sorry, not LSU. Is USC really still a top 25 team, or are they just up there because of what we saw last year and their name and stuff like that? Meanwhile, for LSU, what's your identity as a team and stuff like that this upcoming season? There's a lot of questions I have for both of these teams that I really want answers for. That's why they are my popcorn pick for this one. But Mike has a question for us. He says, "Where is Jerry Rice's son?" I don't know off the top of my head. Do you happen to know
The
where his
Chargers.
son is going to? The Chargers? Oh, interesting.
Yeah, he got
Okay.
drafted to the Chargers, if I believe, because yeah, he went to the Chargers.
Okay. Okay. Nice.
I just
Nice.
I just looked it up to make sure. Yeah, he got drafted to them.
Okay. Perfect. 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 Okay. Well, I wish him a lot of luck and stuff like that. I really do. All right, let's see. Mike says, yeah, that's a nice game Sunday night. LSU, get your popcorn ready. Not to mention, primetime matchup there. So we got two on that one. Mike says the Clemson game, Clemson and Georgia, that's his Papa John's and stuff like that. Okay, RC says, JB, we're going to destroy Illinois State. And I went to, you say Illinois, but I'm sorry, LSU, but you love your Hawkeyes. You went to LSU? I'm sorry, or is that Iowa State or Illinois State? There's so many that could be right there with that abbreviation. But you went to
Mm.
Illinois State. I'm assuming that's what you meant there. JB was all over the place there. All right, so for JB's final pick and all like that, and again, I just want to double check here before I say that one. For my Bojangles pick, so Bojangles pick is I view it as okay. What's just a fun matchup here to look at? So I'm gonna say that my Bojangles pick is going to be all right. Yeah, so I'll go ahead and throw in the Clemson Georgia game there. I'll throw that one in there at the third spot there. So obviously, don't need to hype up too much for that one. But you already know when it comes to Clemson, I want to see how does this pass game look. I have not been high on Cade at all and stuff like that. But can he show me any type of improvement to make me think otherwise? And what better team against UGA? I fully expect UGA is going to win this one. That's why they're not, higher on mine and stuff like that. But I know that they have, a returning running back that they do like a lot. Matter of fact, he was splitting carries last year with Will Shipley, and he took on a bulk of the actual carries away from Will Shipley. And so they're going to have to rely on him. But how much of this passing game can they throw beyond just the, like 7 yards? They like to throw them short passes and stuff, but can they, stretch the field passing wise? All right, let's see. Did you have anything to add? Oh,
No, not really. Other than Mike, you might be right. We definitely need one for the hate watch. You can call it Arby's if you want.
okay. Hey, what's there to hate about Arby's and stuff like that? I don't want Arby's coming after me. RC says,
Wow,
JB,
I could tell you some stuff.
you know what? I think a couple years ago you did tell us about Arby's in the past.
Oh,
I
oh,
think
I did,
if
I did.
you did, yeah.
Just make sure you don't get the roast beef. Just don't get the roast beef. Make sure they drop stuff fresh for you. That's all I'm gonna say.
And so, oh man, yeah. I haven't had Arby's in a good minute, and that's going to continue to be the case here. But as soon as I get back to Georgia, though, I'm going to be getting me some Bojangles. Best believe that. It's been a minute. They don't have that here in Texas, so absolutely. So I guess this will be our Arby's pick then. Let's see. Mike says we need one for the hate watchers. Let's see. But RC said, JB, what y'all think about Blake Corum and Xavier Reaver, Arizona? Blake Corum, excellent situation down there with the Rams. I feel like at some point he will eventually, take over. And if he doesn't take over, then they're going to have a nice 1-2. But he's going to take away some of that workload, I feel like, from Kyron Williams as the season progresses and stuff like that. Now, for Xavier Reaver, I was pretty shocked that he was drafted as low as he was. I don't know his 40 time. Maybe that contributed to it, I'm assuming, and stuff like that. But I feel like down there in Arizona, he'll have some opportunities, to get in there occasionally and stuff like that. So I like it. This is a perfect spot for him. I feel like going down there to Arizona because Kyler Murray, his top guy is gone last year, so he's looking to find new guys to throw that ball to. He's obviously got Marvin Harrison Jr., but Xavier Reaver, I like him as like a fourth, fifth option to get in there and like just a couple plays, get in there and make some play. And if somebody goes down, he'll get an opportunity. But Ode, do you want to start with your Arby's pick? And again, the Arby's pick is the one that you hate to watch.
The one I hate to watch, if I had to pick out of them all, it would be. Oh, well, I just had it too. Where did it go? Indeed, it'd be Michigan versus, I can't say his name.
Fresno State.
Uh,
Yeah,
yeah,
Michigan and
Fresno
Fresno
State. My
State.
bad. Fresno State.
Yep.
Michigan's gonna mollywopp Fresno State. There's no point of even watching it.
Yeah, you're right. You're
Straight up,
right.
like if you watch Fresno State game against Michigan, you're doing it because you're a diehard fan. That's because you've been a fan your whole life. If you just a fan now, or you just became a fan, don't watch this game. You don't have to. Save yourself the headache.
Oh man. Mike says we gotta get hate watching Alabama and stuff like that. Now Alabama plays Western Kentucky, and so another one of those that JB certainly won't be watching for sure because it's not going to be competitive at all in that game. So absolutely, absolutely. All right, let's see. You said we need a better name for that for hate watch, and so let's see. RC says, would someone please say Sacramento State versus San Jose State? Is
Well,
that
you
your
just
hate
said it.
watch? And so yeah, you brought it up for us. JB's gonna look here and think for a second. If there's one that's on
But while
JB's
you do
hate,
that, I can,
yeah,
if you
give
want to
JB some time.
look, I can bring up a fact about Williams. Another thing people have to look out for Williams with the Rams this year, they talk about making him return punts. And I don't know if you all remember last time he started returning punts, the dude was getting hit. I'm talking about he wasn't fair catching. He was letting the ball come and catching it when the dude's 2 feet in his face getting hit. So he's gonna probably, if he's doing that, I don't see him lasting that much long because if they're gonna try to use him as the running back and then doing returns, how much can his body last? He's injury prone as it
Yep.
is. He got injured almost every season. I don't know. Me personally, I I would stay away from him in fantasy unless if he's late rounds, and I think the rookie might take his job this year because of injury. I can see him getting injured on the punt return. The rookie coming
Yep.
in, and we've seen it
Once
before.
the coach sees it, yep. hmm Okay. All right. JB's got his pick now. After muling, and like O says, he meant hate as in terms of jealous, of Alabama winning, and of course, like to root for the underdog and stuff like that. For me, my I guess Arby's hate game of the day is none other than the Ohio Bobcats at Syracuse, and it's purely because of Syracuse and Kyle McCord and stuff like that. The kid bailed on us,
Yeah.
and I'm mad about that. I'm mad about that. He bailed on us, and I don't understand why. Were we harsh on him? Yes, but it's because we wanted better for him. And I felt like another year in the system might have done him some well. But you ran away. You went to Nebraska first, then you ended up going to Syracuse. You ran away. So I am going to be rooting against Syracuse hard this season, purely all because of Kyle McCoy. And it's going to hurt me to do it because I personally, I like Syracuse in terms of like that's the only New York team JB gives two nickels about and stuff like that is Syracuse. But this kid ruined it because he ran away from It was too tough a challenge for him. He realized it was too tough a challenge. You went away from Ohio State and all like that. Love us or hate us, you got to admit for the kid, where are you going to get better weapons to showcase your? You basically took yourself off the draft board. That's what you did. You said, I don't care about playing at the next level. I just want something where nobody's going to be too harsh on me, where everybody's going to pat me on the back and say, hey, kid, you're good and stuff like that. Syracuse didn't have no offensive line last year and stuff like that. So they got nothing to work with, other than maybe just the running game and all like that. And that's by force, not by skill, by force. So for me, it all boils down to going anti-Syracuse. I hope the Bobcats molly whoop them out there. I hope they beat them 40-0. And I hope he throws 4 or 5 interceptions in that game. That's how I feel about Kyle McCord right now, because I feel like he betrayed us and he left us and stuff like that. Now, I'm hoping that, Will Howard does great and stuff like that, but I'm still mad at Kyle McCord just leaving us like that. So there it is. Got JB fired up here, for no reason.
Cook him, JV. Cook him. You're right. He's a traitor. The dude couldn't handle the pressure. He couldn't handle the
So
pressure of being the next man up, and he took the easy way out.
exactly, because we were so close. All the stuff that took place and all like that, we were so close to, getting to our goal and stuff like that. So for him to just run away like that, JB took exception to that. It was a personal shot instead of that, because it told me you're the quarterback. You're supposed to be the one that can handle this. Like if you're going off of social media and stuff like that, and you thought we were too harsh and stuff like that. It's because we expected better from you and stuff like that. Now, if we didn't expect better from you, we would cheer that you left and stuff like that. But no, I really wanted him to see him succeed, so that made me mad. That made me mad. Let's see. Mike says that'd be like the Rams and Vikings for him. He would hate that. And let's see. RC says, what can you expect from the Wisconsin Badgers? And so, Wisconsin. You want to tackle that one first, Ode, or should I?
You can talk about them, because
All
personally, I
right.
really haven't been paying attention to them.
Okay. So yeah. So for Wisconsin, and I only, since they're in the Big Ten, I pay a little bit of attention to Wisconsin there. I'm gonna say this. They did bring in, Tyler Van Dyke, over from the Hurricanes. And so I have mixed feelings about that. Like Tyler Van Dyke, is this going to be a chance for him to rebound in his career, late in his career? You've got that experience. It could be good, it could be bad. But then you look at, the conference. I feel like Wisconsin overall this year is better than they were last year, in JB's humble opinion. That being said, we added some more teams to the conference. This road is not getting easier and stuff like that. So can Wisconsin compete with the top tier teams and stuff like that? They're certainly not going to compete with Ohio State. They're not going to compete with Oregon. They're not going to compete with Michigan, but they can compete with the Minnesotas of the world. They can compete. I feel like I would not be shocked if they upsetted a team like, an Iowa or something like that this season. I would not be surprised if they, beat a team. I don't see them beating a Penn State. I don't see them beating a Penn State. That's probably like where I cap it off. Like that's their ceiling. They cannot do better than a Penn State and stuff like that. But anything below that, and then ask me after the USC LSU game where I get a better indication of what USC looks like this year. But I feel like Wisconsin, like they can be in a competitive game against USC, and I wouldn't be shocked if they beat a USC. But I don't think that they would beat a Penn State. I don't think they would beat an Ohio State. They wouldn't beat a Michigan or an Oregon. Those are 4 teams that I think is beyond their reach this season. But I feel like as a team, they are better than what they were last year. And let's see, Mike says, oh, good one, JB. You like it. You say hate watching, hate to watch the games. Love it. Let's see, Mike says, you guys already previewed tonight's games. And so you know what? We have not previewed the games for tonight. So that's actually a very good idea to do. Looking at and again, we can do a quick recap as well in terms of some of the games from yesterday. I mean, man, look at that Arkansas versus Arkansas Pine Bluff, man, 70-0 and stuff like that. That was pretty bad.
That's crazy.
That's
You couldn't
insane.
even
Like you
get a
just
field goal. You
wow.
couldn't even get a field goal. Like, come on now. Like, the whole team needs to be running laps. The head coach from the water boy needs to be running laps.
Find it interesting here that for Mizzou, Brady Cook, who again, Brady Cook, very high on him, 218 yards passing. Now, obviously, there wasn't much work for him to do against Murray State. Now, if I'm Murray State, I'm saying I want to run mine back in basketball instead of that because you have a chance there, but really good chance actually. But yeah, not in football. Not in football. We actually had how many ranked teams play yesterday? We had like four ranked teams play yesterday. Does anything stand out to you while looking at these scores? Because I feel like we covered the best games. Obviously, the one that I streamed between North Carolina and
Buffalo.
Minnesota, and then the Colorado and North Dakota State. Those were the two competitive games. Oh, then Buffalo, you say, and so yeah,
Yeah,
33rd
Buffalo
team.
shocked me. They
Oh yeah,
did
they
pretty
came
good
out. They came
actually.
out.
I thought Buffalo might have, was gonna choke this game away, but they proved me wrong.
Let's see. Mike says, did they shrink number of conferences a lot? And so it was really just, like Pac-12 getting bumped down to two and stuff like that, teams and stuff like that. But in terms of shrinking conferences, well, they're on their last leg there, but nobody like the conferences themselves are still intact. It's just a matter of some teams got a lot more than others just, didn't. All right. So let's see. You said tell you more about the UB game. So, would you want to talk to that one if you have anything to add with that one? If not,
Um,
JB doesn't have
Not really.
much for that one either. Yeah, JB doesn't
Not
have
really
much for that
much.
one either. You found our blind spot
Like
on
I
that
said,
one.
I pay attention to a couple teams, and then I watch highlights on most. But
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, so now we'll go ahead and we'll discuss some of the ones that are playing today. Matter of fact, right now, Lehigh versus Army is currently going on right now. Apparently, that one's live, or at least starting soon, I would imagine. And then you've got Temple versus Oklahoma. So Oklahoma is a team to certainly watch because obviously we know that they're transitioning over to the SEC this year and stuff like that. But Temple, they're nothing to sneeze at. I want to just look and see how the quarterback play looks here for Oklahoma, how the offense look and stuff like that. Like, will they struggle or will they come out and be dominant? A lot of times JB doesn't too much care in the first week. If they win by a lot or if they win by like two touchdowns. But in this particular game against a team like Temple, I want to see does Oklahoma look dominant in the win? Or is it one of those where, a team like Temple, they're fighting around and stuff like that and it's close? Because that's going to tell me a lot in terms of like how this team is right now, getting ready for SEC play later on. Because if Temple's out there going toe to toe with you, that means you're probably going to end the season, like you're going to drop on that pole eventually, when you get a couple losses there. So Oklahoma's a team where I'm just like, they put you at 16, but I need to see some concrete evidence to back that ranking for them this upcoming season. That's just going to be a lot tougher of a road for them. Let's see. I
I
don't want to do
think
too much talking.
FAU. I think FAU and MSU is going to be a real good game.
Yeah, if I had to
In fact,
watch, like, point out, yeah, go ahead.
I was about to say if I had to pick the game to watch, that could be like the game of the day. I think it's FAU versus MSU.
I'm very intrigued to see this year's Michigan State squad. I feel like they've added some pieces, and I want to see how them pieces gel and see, just what type of team Michigan State looks like this year. And FAU, they're always an interesting, exciting team, especially over the last couple of seasons as well. So that could be a great one. The one that I'd be calling as my favorite matchup of today would be TCU versus Stanford. And I know that one comes on the latest there, but not as late as you typically expect from a Stanford team there. But Stanford, new to the ACC. And there's a lot of questions I have for this Stanford team. Historically, we've known that Stanford has always been a competitive team. They're at home here. TCU, I know they're going to come out passing the ball and stuff. So TCU versus Stanford, I'm looking forward to seeing both of these teams and see how much improvement have they made from the previous year and stuff like that. So that's going to be a good one in my opinion. But can't overlook that Western Michigan Wisconsin one just to see how Wisconsin looks in that one. So there's quite a few games, 4 games really that I really like today.
Oh yeah, like I said earlier, this season of college football is if you love football, this is the deal. 'Cause there's gonna be great games every week.
That's right. That is right. Carmichael, shout out to Carmichael. What's good with you? We got Carmichael here today, y'all. Carmichael. He says he wants to redeem himself from last year's draft. Oh, Carmichael. I forget what pick are you,
I ain't
Carmichael.
trading with you.
Oh man, did,
I
did you
ain't
guys
trading
make
with
a trade last
nobody.
year?
I believe we did. We was in the same division too, I believe.
That's right. That's right. Divisions are the same this year. The only difference is that RC is now he's taken over for Joe's bold team, so he's currently in Pop Brown's division, which means two teams in his division made the championship last year. They played against each other, so that tells you a lot. All right, let's see. I want to make sure I didn't overlook anything. Uh, all right, so let's say Carmichael says you got yourself your number four. All right, so you're number four. Okay. And let's see. Mike says, do you like the new conferences? Oh, I'll let you answer that first.
I think that they changed it up. It's gonna be. It can be good or bad. To me, I like it because you're gonna get better football games, more aggressive conferences. You'll get the better all over game. But then again, you're gonna have those bad teams get attacked easier, get bullied more because they got more good teams to handle and less chances of winning. To me, it's better because to me, I rather you have to be good and play good, even if you suck. You can show up, if not, whatever. But it brings better football all around.
I agree. I agree. The biggest thing, I guess, to be the best example for JB in terms of how I feel about the new conferences, I'm gonna start with the Big Ten. I'm gonna start with the Big Ten because over the last couple of years, I mean, it's something that JB never mentions and stuff like that. But it felt like as long as we beat Michigan or whoever won that game between Ohio State and Michigan and stuff like that. That's who basically was going to win the Big Ten championship and stuff like that. It was just a formality to line up and play against an Iowa, play against a Wisconsin, teams that were really no real threat because all the big teams were on the same side of the division and stuff like that. But now you went ahead and you added some teams like Oregon, you added some teams like Washington and stuff like that. Not to mention also USC, can't be overlooked, UCLA. You went ahead and you added those teams to it. And so now it's like, okay, now we got a real battle. Getting to the playoffs is going to be a real battle and stuff like that. The SEC was already tough and stuff like that, but I feel like if you win your conference now, it adds more respect to your conference. What has been the biggest debate for the college football playoffs since we started the college football playoffs? Do conferences even matter? You would have a team with one loss win their conference, and then another team that, with the same record that beat that team. And if the conference championship meant little to nothing. There was no reward for really winning your conference if another team had a similar record and everybody just happened to like them better because the eye test says they were better than you and stuff like that. So that's why I feel like having those teams now in the same division where they can't dodge each other, you know, they can't dodge each other. They're gonna cross paths and stuff like that. No more waiting for the college football playoffs if we're gonna see a Oregon Ohio State matchup or Oregon Michigan type of matchup. This stuff's gonna take place in the regular season for the conference championship. So whoever wins the conference championship now, they have definitely earned their spot to where they are able to go in there and ultimately let me see something. Yeah, they definitely earned their spot to where they've, a Big Ten championship now has a lot more weight because it's not just, a battle between two teams where everybody knows coming into the season, like, okay, it's either Ohio State or it's either Michigan. And they'll throw Penn State up there just for the sake of formalities. But yeah, you know, we know the big teams. Although Carmichael says Penn State to the Natty here. Okay. And he says y'all need to trade with him because he's got GOAT trades. He says he's not picking Najee at four. You're picking four again, it seems like. So same spot as you were last year. And you're not going to choose your boy Najee Harris? What? You're probably going to
Nah,
get
you
at
gotta
least
take
one.
Najee.
I tell
Come
you what.
on
I tell
now.
you. I tell you what. I know Kenny Pickett's not an option for you, but you still can go after Russell Wilson. You still can go after him.
What?
Let's see. Carmichael
That's
says
low
JB should
ball.
draft. You say I should draft Drake maybe with my first round pick. I'm good. I'm good. Mike says something has to be done. It was too unorganized before. Did the playoffs change? And so, yes, it did. Oh, and if you want to break down the new format of the college football playoffs here from Mike.
Oh snap! I had that up too and I lost it. So you probably have to tell him
Yeah.
until I can find
Okay.
it.
Yeah. All right. So basically, here's how it goes. So essentially 12 teams this year for the college football playoffs, in which it was previously four. The top four teams, and again, to qualify for the top four spots, you have to be a conference winner and stuff like that. So Big Ten, SEC, so the four major conferences and stuff like that. You got to win your conference and be conference champion to qualify for that top spot, and then the remaining eight. And if you're one of the top four, you get the first round off. So more reason to aim for that spot. But the remaining eight, things get very interesting and stuff like that, to where, the top remaining seed plays against the worst remaining, like the worst team to get in, seeding wise and stuff like that, which can create some very interesting matchups and stuff like that. And so let JBC real quick if I can pull up something to give an example of what that would look like based upon last year's results. And again, I don't have this prepared ahead of time, so I'll go ahead and do that. But anything you want to add, while I look for this?
Yeah, if I remember rightly, too, the top four teams get it by. I'll get the
Yep,
first round by. So that'd be nice for them. So that even put more pressure on the teams to get top four at least. Because then they give that week off. That means it gives your team more time to prepare and to be healthy.
absolutely. Absolutely. So let's see. I'm still looking to try to find a quick one that I can pull up because I know I've seen it before. Carmichael says he will not be taking our advice when it comes to picking. He's going to trust himself. All right. But hey, I mean, this is a chance about redemption. O can tell you himself, obviously, that first season there, O is like, that's one to forget. But the improvements he made last year, you won most of your conference games, actually. I think you only lost like one of the six conference
Yeah,
games.
I was winning, and then injuries happened, and all that fun happened. But it's all right. This the year. Mr. Sabi again, with all respect, you're going down.
All right. I think I have found, okay, I found at least a format that I can share real quick for you. All right. This should be it. I want to make sure I got the right one. All right. Here we go. All right. I don't know if that's big enough for you to see or not. See if I click it, does it open up? All right. 1 second here. I can get it bigger here. All right. All right. So yeah, Mike. So this is the breakdown of what it would look like, moving forward there with the college football playoffs now being 12 seeds here. So obviously, as we pointed out, the top four seeds here, that's going to go to your conference champions for the major conferences and stuff like that in these four. But they'll get that first round off there. So think of it as, I believe, a similar format when they do like the conference championships for college basketball and stuff like that, where the top four teams sit this one out typically and stuff like that, and then let the remainers, like the fifth seed goes against the lowest seed that got in and stuff like that, ideally to win a date with the four seed there. And so then your 8 and 9 seeds, 11 versus 6, 10 versus 7, all of that stuff. And so that's essentially what that looks like. And then And then it says the 12 participating teams will be the five highest, ranked conference champions. So that's the one, two, three, four, five. But one of those five is going to have to play the first round, plus the next, seven highest ranked teams. So five conference champions and stuff like that, and then the remaining seven best. So that's how that goes. And so Fortnite in the building. What's good with you? How are you? How are you? And let's see, Mike says that's a good site for UFL. A good site for UFL. And so, oh yeah, oh yeah. Let's see. Carmichael says, so basically what you're saying, JB, is Penn State is going to be number one and win the national championship. What I'm saying is that for a team like Penn State, it is very possible that, losing one game doesn't ruin it all for you. Heck, a two-loss Penn State team, depending on those two losses and how those two teams that beat you ended up doing and stuff like that, it's not crazy to think, based upon the eye test, they probably can be in contention for that 12th spot, at least in contention. But I wouldn't want to risk it with two losses. But what this does say is that you can afford to lose a game and all like that. So teams don't have to go out there and dodge like all the top teams and stuff like that and be afraid if I lose one game, it's over, because that doesn't have to be the case. One loss doesn't end it all. But yeah, that is how it is. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing it. So many possibilities there, and at least we get to the point where it's like, okay, because like how many times do we have to sit here and say, like, remember the year that Cincinnati got in there and stuff like that, in the debate, like, was Cincinnati deserving of a spot? We saw TCU get in there and all like that, and we saw what happened to them in the championship game and stuff like that. So this is great. This is great. And let's see. Carmichael says, JB, are you gonna select Kendrick Bourne? And so JB's not gonna show his hands there, but I think it's safe to say that Kendrick Bourne probably won't end up on JB's squad. Probably.
Nope.
Let's see.
Neither will
Fortnite
you
says,
me.
good you, right? But I'm glad that you're doing good, Fortnite. I am doing well also. We're going to be having a fantasy draft that's going to take place in less than an hour and stuff like that. So we'll probably go on another 20 minutes before we call it a wrap. Give me and old man some time to make sure that we got everything set up on our end prior to the start of that draft.
Well, if you guys in the chat have any question or opinion on anything, let us know, and we can talk about that too. About your
Exactly. This is
team.
for you guys. Exactly.
I got a question. Who could be a sneaky team in the AFC that you think that could make the playoffs?
Sneaky team in the AFC that can make the playoffs. I've said a couple times I feel like it can be because they were so close last year, but the X factor is obviously going to be a team like Anthony Richardson's play. Anthony Richardson, if he turns out to be like the better case scenario, because they were so close last year. For all that Houston did, it came down to literally a fourth down play that Indianapolis did not convert. So best case scenario, obviously we know they got Jonathan Taylor. So if he goes out there and looks good and stuff like that, and Anthony Richardson, those two, if they gel well together in terms of complementing each other with what they bring to the ground game, Anthony Richardson airs it out. Michael Pittman Jr., we know what he brings to the table there. Josh Downs, they've got some pieces there defensively. Indianapolis is always a team defensively that puts up a fight against teams that you're like, wow, they're really contending with this team. So I would say a team like Indianapolis would be a potential team there I can think of, because a lot of the other teams they're probably favorites and stuff like that to already get in, so it would not be a surprise for them in the AFC.
See, I have a different team, but same division. I got the Titans. I think if
Right.
Will Levis can take it to the next level and be that quarterback that the Titans and a lot of people think he can be, with the wide receiver core they have, the run game they're gonna have, they could easily take second place in that division and have like the last playoff spot.
Carmichael says the Steelers are making the playoffs. You said you got it, JB. Here's some advice. You said Carson Wentz, draft Carson Wentz. Oh man, but yeah, that's a great question there, and so Absolutely. So we're basically looking in the same division. We're looking in the same division for that one. So I mean, because odds are that's certainly a possibility there. So it just comes down to, I guess, which young player does better in year two. Anthony Richardson, Will Levis. It could be that. All right, let's see. Mike says he respectfully disagrees. Oh, so he's throwing a challenge flag on that one. He says he gave Levis a rating of stinks. So that's what he
Yeah,
says.
he wasn't the best quarterback last year, but you also got to remember they went out and they drafted a left tackle, JC from Alabama, who played right tackle, but he's playing left tackle. They went out and they signed the O line to get better, and say what you want. They are older players. D Hop still can win 50-50 balls. Ridley still can cut routes with the best of them, and Boyd can be the slot receiver. They're gonna be running the ball. They're gonna be passing it. I think Levis is going to be a good quarterback. I'm not saying he's going to be top 10, maybe maybe the 15th, 16th quarterback. And with that, I think they can make the playoffs.
So absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, you bring up good points there. And if he were to struggle or something like that or go down, didn't they bring in Mason Rudolph as like
They
their
did.
backup? So that helps to have
In
that
fact,
depth knowing that Mason comes behind
they traded Malik too to the Packers. So
Packers.
so was Will Levis or Rudolph?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Carmichael says Steelers are making the playoffs there. What are your thoughts on Pittsburgh and their playoff chances this year, Ode?
I don't think they making it. I in fact I think this should be the year where Mike T don't win have a winning record. I think they still is in the first year in a long time having a losing season because I don't trust Russell. Yeah, he was getting better last year, but you telling me the Ravens defense, the Browns defense, even the Bengals defense not gonna be in his face, not making him not like he can't run that good no more. You throw Sutton in, he's gonna be seeing ghosts. He's not gonna be leading the look for wide receivers. He's gonna look and run. I I don't see them making the playoffs. I hope I'm wrong for Mike T for Mike Tomlin's sake, but I don't have them making the playoffs.
I think, me personally, given what we've seen from Pittsburgh over the last couple of years, and I know, you guys know more than anybody, I will dog out Russell Wilson in terms of just saying all the stuff that he doesn't do and stuff like that for them. But I have to give Pittsburgh credit to where I think defensively, this team, they're still Steelers defensively and stuff like that. Offensively, it won't be pretty. It won't be pretty, but I see them as, they can be still a 9-win team because all the teams you mentioned, they typically, if they don't split and stuff like that, they'll find ways to be competitive to win. And Russell Wilson in the fourth quarter is better than he typically is the first three quarters and stuff like that. From what I've noticed last year with the Broncos and stuff like that, to where, and that's all Pittsburgh's going to need, somebody in the clutch that can drive them down for a field goal. Sometimes it's probably going to be a 16-13 game. It might be a 20-17 game and all like that. But I do feel like, despite the woes that they'll have at quarterback, and again, I'm not saying that they're going to do any noise or anything like that in the playoffs and stuff like that, but I think that they can be right on the verge. It just comes down to, maybe a couple of tiebreaker scenarios and stuff like that. But I do believe that they'll be right in the contention again and stuff like that. Because they did it with Kenny Pickett. They did it with Kenny Pickett. And Kenny Pickett, he ain't got it. He ain't got it at all, and stuff
They
like
also
that.
did with better receivers though. They got rid of Johnson. Yeah, he gave up on stuff, but he was still a good player. Yeah, the defense still good. The defense still going to be top notch. I just don't have faith in the quarterback, and it hurts me to say because Justin Fields from Ohio. He's not a good quarterback. Russell, he's old. He's not a good quarterback. I have no faith in either one of them. If I was the Steelers, I would have kept Rudolph over Russ.
I really would have kept Mason Rudolph too. and stuff. I was a little surprised that they didn't, considering the ending that he had. It would have been nice to at least keep him in, even if you went a different direction, at least, as a backup, because he really did help them get to that playoffs there. But Carmichael says the
And
Steelers are
like,
going 17-0.
but like you brought up too, they bought Smith over from the Falcons. Yeah, he's an okay offensive coordinator, but look at the young stud he's had with the Falcons, and they looked bad. They looked horrible. I have no faith in him, and I have no faith in the quarterback. I have faith in Mike Tomlin. Don't get me wrong. To me, Mike Tomlin is the second best head coach in the NFL behind Andy Reid right now. I just don't have faith in the quarterback, and I think he set himself up to fail with Russ and Sustin.
Let's see. RC said he thought justification Fields. He thought Justin Fields won the starting job. Russell Wilson got the job and stuff like that, which they fully intended for it to be his job to begin with. It became a quarterback competition purely because Russell Wilson had got injured. So they just said that because it brings out the best in competition for preseason, but it was always going to be Russell Wilson's job. Let's see. Carmichael says he hopes everyone in the division stays healthy so we can beat everyone at full health. And let's see. Mike says Watson resurgence or Browns collapse. Ooh, let's put it up there. Ode, you want to tackle this one first?
Out of the two, Browns collapse because I don't have faith in Watson. I think I think Bill O'Brien gets too much hate because I think he knew ahead of time that Watson wasn't good anymore. Like, say what you want, Watson hasn't been Texas Watson way before the years before that. The Browns gave up way too much money. He got cocky. In his mind, he got fully guaranteed he doesn't care no more. You can tell in the face. To me, he does not care. Either way, he got his money. He's happy. If I am the Browns, I am trying to figure a way to get off of Watson. But they can't because they said redid his contract, so they screwed himself there more.
Yeah, I
The
mean that
Browns,
was an all time, like, just, yeah, bad decision there
the,
in that case by Cleveland. Yeah, I mean, for me there, is he gonna resurge? No. No. He messed himself up by missing so much time away from football. And it's like, you ever know, like, when it comes to Deshaun Watson, this is how I view him. Everybody knows that guy that used to be the guy in high school. Couple surgeries later, couple, like, things years later and stuff like that, lots of, drinkings. He still has it. He think he still has it. And he goes out there, does a little workout and stuff like that, and everybody's like, oh, he's about to, he still got it. He's coming back. Just wait. He's coming back. At some point, it's too far to come back from. The quarterback that we saw down there in Houston will never reemerge and stuff like that. The only question is, how much better can he get from last year? Everything that you knew about him from Houston, it stayed in Houston. It did not come back with him. That is a different quarterback at this point. The quarterback right now for Cleveland, what you saw since he was with the Browns, that's who Deshaun Watson is right now and stuff like that. And he's a quarterback that's dinking and dunking and stuff like that. And it's just, the pot when the pocket collapses, his awareness goes away. He will never be that elite quarterback again. He will never be worth the money that Cleveland is trying to justify that they are paying him. Even if it is a reduction and a restructuring and stuff like that, he will never be worth it. The fact is, they should have stuck with Joe Flacco another year and all like that.
thank
Tell him,
you.
hey, you're going to be the guy because you went out there. You know how to get the ball to the guys. And Joku was much better with him. Amari Cooper much better with him. They're bringing in Jerry Jeudy and stuff like that. Deshaun Watson will never be a star in this league again. And I hate to say it because I was rooting for him and stuff like that. But JB's convinced he's done. He is done. He's just collecting a check at this point. I wouldn't be
I
surprised if
want to.
DTR took the job. Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna hop on with you about that. Me, they should have kept So Flacco. If you looked, and here's another thing: AVP is the OC for New England because he got fired from the Browns. The only reason why the Browns let him go is because Watson wanted him gone because AVP took So Flacco, took DTR, took all these other quarterbacks, and actually won games and had an offense. Watson in the same offense looked horrible. So you telling me it's AVP's fault when he has 3 to 4 different quarterbacks and 3 out of the 4 look like starting quarterbacks? I think the Browns know they messed up. They just caught and they can't handle it. They know they screwed themselves, and that's why you have Trevor Lawrence making $55 million a year. You would have
Mm,
Daniel Jones making $40 million a year. These mid quarterbacks are making top money, millions and millions of dollars because they got one good year, or you got an owner saying, "Dang, we really stuck ourselves. We have to stick with this guy because we put so much into him," instead of cutting bait. Because let's face fact, the Browns they're gonna lose Cooper. You signed Jerry Sudi, who's at best a wide receiver two, to be your wide receiver one of the future. Myers Garrett's contract, I believe, is going to come up sooner. He's going to want top money. The Browns royally screwed themselves. They're about to lose. They got the tackles who's on a 1 year deal. You got older old linemen, so they're going to come up soon. The Browns will be the Browns, and they're going to be in a rebuild in 2 to 3 years. Book it.
absolutely. Absolutely. All right. So Carmichael says that Russell Wilson was better than Mahomes when they both played, speaking. Statistically speaking. Your thoughts on that, Ode?
If you okay, statistically he played really good, but if you literally watched him play, it's not the same Russ. Russ is getting yards and touchdowns and throwing it to Sutton, who's had a ball out season. Russ is a good quarterback. I would call him maybe top the 20th, the 23rd quarterback in the NFL as of today. I wanted New England to sign him for a 1 year deal for $1 million because that's really deal. I just don't see him being a starting quarterback for the whole year, and I don't see Justin Fields doing anything good because the dude is mentally broken. He doesn't look up. He looks at one guy and he's not open. He takes off, or he doesn't look. He runs around and doesn't keep his head high. And like I keep saying, I hate it because I'm a Buckeyes fan, but Justin Fields is not a starting QB in the NFL.
All right. And shout out Lewis here. Lewis, what's good after that W yesterday? What's good with you? Let's see. But yeah, I mean, it all comes down to why like when you think of college football and we're preparing for the draft, there's a reason why we don't just say the best quarterback is the one who had the most passing yards, most passing touchdowns and stuff like that. And we don't just say that that's going to be the first overall pick. There's a reason why they don't draft that guy because I'm sure that we can find a school where a quarterback goes out there and throws for 6,000 yards and stuff like that out there. There's a reason why we have to dive it deeper and stuff like that. I mean, Patrick Mahomes, who was he throwing to last year? Kadarius Looney Tune out there. I mean, the man dropped everything within a 5 mile
MVS.
radius. And so Sky Moore, I mean, the Drop Brothers. I'm gonna call them the Drop Brothers and stuff like that. I mean, heck, Carmichael, you dropped Sky Moore from your fantasy team after the first week and stuff like that. Imagine being a quarterback and your coach keeps putting him out there and stuff like that. Like, yes, you have Kelsey, but everybody's got somebody out there in the NFL and stuff like that. So it doesn't always come down to the numbers and stuff like that. I mean, because Dak Prescott last year, statistically speaking, he put together a really good season, but nobody's saying that they want Dak Prescott and all like that to lead it. So it comes down to the impact of those plays. Are these just plays where your team is down like like the Broncos were to the Dolphins? You're down almost 70 points, and so the defense is taking out the starters, and you're getting a bunch of yards in garbage time, or the game's already over. You're down 2 scores, and so therefore you pick up like because many times, believe me, I was watching Russell Wilson last year because like I like to take like the unders and stuff like that in the second half, and I noticed a thing for him in the fourth quarter, he will get a large portion of his yards because they will always be trailing. So the defense will back up and stuff like that. So Russell Wilson would go out there and get the easier plays and stuff like that because the defense just doesn't want to give up anything deep. Don't give up anything deep and stuff like that. So That's a little bit of a difference there. Now you bring up some valid points here with your next comment here, which I'll go ahead and put that up here, where you say that Russell, has a much better offense. Totally agree with that because I do like George Pickens. I do like George Pickens and stuff like that. Now, my concern is with the offensive coordinator, but you guys had a horrible offensive coordinator last year and stuff like that. So I trust that a Mike Tomlin led Pittsburgh team, they'll do enough to, be a playoff team and stuff like that, or at least, in contention for it. But I don't see no damage, done in the playoffs. It's going to be the same story as we always see. And this time, it might ultimately cost Mike Tomlin this job. Unfortunate, though, because I think he's a great coach, but something's got to change, right? All right, and let's see. Carmichael's wishing the Browns go 0-17. Let's see. Mike says so maybe Steelers could be two. All right, so where am I at right now? All right, so Mike says perfect timing. There was several teams turning over their franchise to get Watson in the I remember that in the Falcons, Panthers, and others. And so the Browns actually were out of contention, but they found a way to get back in it for him. Man, they wish that they would have just stayed away from it. And let's see. Carmichael says as long as Russ can throw for more than 13 touchdowns, I think we're a playoff team. And so, well, if that's the bar, he'll get that now. He'll get that. He'll get you
Oh,
that.
if that's the bar, then yeah, you're gonna be a
He'll get you
playoff
that.
team. The problem I have with Russ is it's not even really he can't do nothing about it, but he can't. His leg is shot. What made Russell Wilson special is he was able to run around in the pocket and then move outside the pocket. He does not want to do that no more.
And so, okay. And let's see. Lewis says, "Old man, thumbs up." And he says, "Good start, JB. 1-0. That's how you started off. 1-0." Let's see. Mike says Justin Fields was spared, no O line. That's a fact. That's a fact. But you know what? And then I hate to say this and all like that, but you think about, what Peterson said down there with the Jaguars, where he talked about Mac Jones and he says he reverts back to his Patriot tendencies and stuff like that. So you can take the kid out of the jungle, but can you take the jungle out of the kid? You took Justin Fields out of a bad situation, but can you take the bad training, the bad habits that he had to build just to sustain himself over there? Can you take that out of him and reset him to what he was prior to joining the Chicago Bears and stuff like that? And so that's where it comes down to who's the quarterback coach. Because I don't trust Arthur Smith at all when it comes to developing any type of quarterback at all.
Nope.
Now, for the run game, sure, I trust him with that and stuff like that, but with like what? Developing a quarterback? What? I don't think so. I don't think so.
And I understand Chicago didn't have one of the old lines or whatever, but if you go back and you watch, they will give Sustin on some plays. They will give Sustin time, and he'll have people open, and he will still hold on too long, or he will literally try to take off and run into defenders or miss wide open people. Sustin, you could tell him he's broke, whatever. I'm hoping he can play. But yeah, you can say Bills did him dirty, but same thing with Max Jones. You can say they were good quarterbacks because look at their college teams around them. They had everything around them to be good. In the NFL, not so much, and they turned out not to be the people.
Absolutely. All right, let's see. Carmack says that's fair. Sky Moore was doodle. Let's see. Mike says, I say it every year. This is a great time of year. Every NFL fan thinks their team will be good, even Steeler fans. Carmichael says Kenny Pickett threw 6 touchdowns and 7 touchdowns. That's wild. And they still ended up making the playoffs there because, I mean, Mason Rudolph came in and he did great. Let's see. Mike says Watson owned your Bills in the playoffs. And let's see. Carmichael says Arthur Smith made Ryan Tannehill look good. He said that's why Steelers are always good enough to make you have 800 heart attacks per game. And so I am concerned for you, Carmichael. Because there's gonna be some ups, but there's gonna be some downs also this year and stuff like that. Because the Steelers are always a team. If they're in a game and I have to pick a team that's gonna upset somebody and it's not particularly a playoff game, there's certainly a team that comes to mind. Because in that division, it's about it's always gonna be physical. The AFC North is always going to be physical and stuff like that. When they go against Cleveland, Watson's not going to be able to do enough. They really should have kept Flacco. He's not going to be able to do enough. Right now, Burrow coming back from an injury that I've not seen another quarterback have and stuff like that. And then you've got the whole situation with Chase not up to speed yet and stuff like that, in which obviously he'll get up to speed. But I typically see that they take a little couple weeks to really get that chemistry at a high level, stuff like that each season. And we know at Baltimore, but Baltimore's always one Lamar Jackson play away from their season changing. And he tends to get hurt more times. I'm not gonna say more times than not, but it's a possibility. It's a possibility. So, but I'm wishing that, as you mentioned before, that everybody stays healthy because I really would like to see that. Carmichael
Well,
says he's
not the
not looking
dog
forward to the
pile
trade
on,
line. Yeah,
but if you look at it also, the Browns themselves look around. They try to trade. They bought in St. Winston. They try to trade him. They also try to trade Tyler Hungy from the Ravens that they bought over the quarterback. They got 4 QBs on their main roster. That should tell you something how they feel about Winston. Feel about their quarterback spot. I think
yep.
Winston can take over. I think Samuel Winston, Mr. Krabby Legs, could take over the Browns starting QB job and might actually win it from Watson.
I will have to say, I think that DTR is going to get that job. It seems like they want DTR to be the backup. Apparently, he outplayed Jameis Winston, even so. I think it's going to be him that takes over, from what I've seen.
Ooh.
It
Then what
seems
do
like
you
they
do?
want
Do
to see if
you
they can trade Jameis. There's some trade rumors about him being potentially trade. And right now, from what I'm seeing, there's some reports that Jameis Winston might potentially end up being. They're targeting a team like the Broncos, to be a backup over there and stuff like that. But he's probably gonna get traded. They're looking to see if they can trade him.
I wouldn't trade him. I think they stupid. Watson, give me Winston over Watson. At least I know Mr. Krabby Leg is gonna go out there and make a lead. Look at what he's doing in the playoff. He was the one that's going out in the field with the team and getting him hype. Man, Watson, Browns,
Hmm.
Browns did to
That's what I
themselves.
keep making mistakes. Keep making mistakes. But I tell you what, anybody have any last questions? We're going to get ready to wrap things up so that way me and O can start getting ready for our fantasy draft here and stuff like that. So if anybody's got any final questions or thoughts, go ahead and let us know in the chat so we can address it.
Don't forget hit that like button.
Absolutely. We had a good amount of people come through yesterday. I mean, we finished with like about 4,900 people came in yesterday, like at least viewed the stream yesterday. So that was incredible. Like we really had a pack house yesterday. Like when
Oh
I saw that the
yeah.
chat had actively 170 plus people in the chat actively, I knew it was going to be big. Let's see. Carmichael says he's going to get ready for the draft. Okay, good luck to you, Carmichael. I'll be looking to see who you take. And let's see. Mike says, enjoyed the show as always, Mike. And hey, tomorrow we're going to be busy. Lewis says, when is the next stream, JB? And so, yes. So, JB is going to be streaming. The first game tomorrow is Georgia versus Clemson. So, your Bulldogs versus Clemson. That's the first game right there. Immediately right after, we're going to have to jump to the Florida versus Miami game for JB's second stream. And then once that game concludes, then we'll get ready for Notre Dame versus Virginia Tech in that matchup. So JB's got 3 streams tomorrow and stuff like that. So basically, JB's streaming all day tomorrow. So if it's daytime and there's college football on, you best believe that means JB is still streaming and stuff. Like that. Just got to find the correct stream that JB's currently streaming from. I've got 3 different ones set up. So that's the next stream. All right. Well, other than that, thank you so much for joining me again, Ode. I know that we didn't get to do any weekly picks because we already did our weekly picks the week prior, and that's normally something that we would have covered and stuff like that. But it was great. I appreciate you joining me here. Best of luck here, in the draft, our fantasy draft and stuff like that. Maybe, when we get some time in the next stream and stuff like that that we do that's like this, we'll go ahead and showcase, how the draft went and stuff that and see how everybody rates, each team. Everybody in the chat rates each team and stuff like
We
that. So
can
we might do something like that.
we can do that.
So
Appreciate you having me again.
All right, thank you. Of course. So it says Georgia game under 50. Okay, bet. Yeah, I like the under in that one too. I do like the under in that one too. All right, but thanks again, everybody. Gonna go ahead and sign us off now. You take care. See you guys bright and early tomorrow to get things started at noon Eastern time. Georgia, Clemson. You're not gonna want to miss it here. Two ranked teams in the top 15. Let's see how things end. But thanks again for joining, guys. You guys, go ahead and take care. Be sure to follow Old Man on Twitter if you haven't already. And we'll be signing out. Take care.